What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories. 4SS Chapter 76 6 Styles, Dead Again, 6 Style. What do you want that thing for? Hearing another request from Yang Hao, it was Doflamingo's turn to be surprised. Yes, Yang Hao's other request is for Doflamingo to give him the 6 Style cultivation method. Doflamingo is no stranger to the 6 forms. That is the special skill of the CP Department of World Government. It is a kind of physical skill that exceeds the physical limit of the human body. It is known as a superhuman move and is extremely powerful. If you learn them all, even ordinary people will be able to fight against those with devil fruit abilities. Due to its high practicality, some marine generals will also use it. For example, Doflamingo assigned Virgo, the undercover agent of Marine, to learn a few moves. What Doflamingo didn't expect was that Yang Hao would suddenly ask him for the 6 Style cultivation method. This is not difficult, but the question is, what does Yang Hao want with this cultivation method? Yang Hao laughed dumbly. Brother Ming asked this question. What you want to do with the 6 forms is of course cultivation. But he couldn't say that so blatantly, so he told the reason he had thought about for a long time. I heard that Lu Shi is a physical technique that transcends the physical limit of the human body. I am very interested in this kind of physical technique. I have a hunch that as long as I learn this kind of physical technique, my understanding of the human body will be improved to a higher level, which will also be of great help to the research on the blue ball. Hearing this, Doflamingo raised his eyebrows. Is this the case? However, as the CP department's special skill, 6 Styles does have its own unique features. In this case, Doflamingo has no reason to refuse. Of course, the most important thing is that it is not difficult for him to obtain the 6 Style cultivation method. Ever since, Doflamingo readily agreed to this request. Yang Hao had a smile on his face, but he was actually excited in his heart. Compared with domineering, 6 moves are actually more difficult to obtain. Anyone in New World can learn dual-color hockey from anyone. But not everyone can obtain all the 6 types of cultivation methods. That is, only Doflamingo can be obtained at will. At this point, Yang Hao's goal of approaching Doflamingo has basically been achieved. Next, is the period when his strength will soar again. That's it, the next day. The 300 million Baileys and 6 Style training methods promised by Doflamingo were delivered to Yang Hao by BABY5. Looking at the 300 million Baileys and the 6 Style cultivation method in front of him, Yang Hao finally couldn't hide his excitement. If you have money and a way to practice, what are you waiting for? Yang Hao dismissed Baby-5 with a random excuse and immediately started simulating becoming stronger. As for the research on Lan Bochu, there is no rush for the time being. Once he gains more trust from Doflamingo, it won't be too late to start. After all, according to Yang Hao's idea, if he wants to continue to study stronger blue balls, he needs to rely on the scientific power of Caesar Current. But it was not easy for him to contact Caesar Current. You must gain the trust of Doflamingo. And now, does Doflamingo really trust him? Not necessarily. Yang Hao didn't think that a hero like Doflamingo would believe in him easily. Even the blue ball he took out was indeed of great significance, but there are still necessary temptations. Of course, the reason why Yang Hao is so successful at the moment may just be because 300 million belly and the 6 Style training method are nothing to Doflamingo. But it is a little difficult to contact Caesar Current directly. After all, Caesar Current is related to Kaido, and no problems are allowed. The attitude adopted by Doflamingo is to be cautious. This situation is exactly what Yang Hao wants. Anyway, his focus now is to practice the 6 postures first. As long as he masters the 6 postures, his strength should undergo a qualitative change. When the time comes, I should be more confident in plotting against Caesar Current. Thinking like this, Yang Hao immediately started the simulation without saying anything. But what Yang Hao didn't expect was that problems arose in his first simulation due to trust issues. On the first day, you started to practice the 6 postures. You were no stranger to the 6 postures. It was only after you saw the real practice method that you realized that the 6 postures were not that simple. Close black lens bracket. But you are not discouraged. With sufficient funds, you have a lot of time to practice. But just when you were practicing the 6 postures in one go, an unexpected person comes to your door. Close black lens bracket. One of the cadres of the Don Quixote family, Violet, is Violet, the one with the ability to stare at the fruit. Close black lens bracket. Violet came to the door on her own initiative, apparently with Doflamingo's order to spy on you. You have no choice but to refuse to receive the other party. When the other party uses mind observation skills, you can only pretend to be ignorant. Close black lens bracket. Fortunately, if you know the other party's ability and try to restrain yourself from thinking too much, there should be no problem. Close black lens bracket. But the very next day, Doflamingo took advantage of Baby 5's absence and knocked on the door with a cold face. Close black lens bracket. Without any nonsense, Doflamingo launched a surprise attack on you. Close black lens bracket. After a fierce battle, without any suspense, you were killed by Doflamingo. Close black lens bracket. The simulation ends, you get benign changes, a little combat experience, and no malignant changes, close black lens bracket. This time the simulation started quickly and ended faster. Looking at the content of this simulation, Yang Hao couldn't help being dumbfounded. With money and the 6-style cultivation method, now he just wants to simulate and become stronger safely. But what he didn't expect was that he died at the hands of Doflamingo as soon as the simulation started. We had a good conversation before, but why did the other party suddenly change his attitude and want to kill me? Yang Hao was greatly surprised and soon found out the reason. Violet. Yang Hao murmured, his eyes flashing. There is no doubt that Violet was the trigger for his simulated death. Doflamingo is a good person and will not kill him unless there is a reason for his sudden change of attitude. Looking at the entire simulation, it is obvious that Violet is the reason. She was probably sent by Doflamingo to spy on her. According to the simulation, he had nothing for her to spy on. After all, the opponent's staring fruit ability can only peek into what's in his mind, but not his memory. Therefore, even if Yang Hao thinks of something bad, it should not cause Doflamingo's murderous intention. The only possibility is that Violet lied. What was she supposed to say to Doflamingo? What would she say, Doflamingo? Yang Hao narrowed his eyes. Forget it if he doesn't know about the grudge between Violet and Doflamingo. But now, knowing his grievances, Yang Hao quickly made assumptions. Chapter 77 Killing Violet, 6 Types of Difficulties. As for what Violet said to Doflamingo, Yang Hao figured it out after a little speculation. The logic of this matter is actually very simple. Violet was forced to work for Doflamingo, and she actually wanted him to die. Under this premise, Violet certainly does not want to see the Don Quixote family develop and grow. As for Yang Hao's joining, it is estimated that Violet has already known about it. Even when Yang Hao arrived, it was very likely that the other party could peek through his abilities. And knowing his huge role in Doflamingo and even the entire Don Quixote, one can only imagine what Violet would think of Yang Hao. There is no doubt that Violet will definitely be the first to kill Yang Hao if possible. It's just that she doesn't have the ability, but Doflamingo arranged for her to spy on Yang Hao. As a result, Violet took advantage of the trick and lied to Doflamingo. It is estimated that he also said a lot of bad things about Yang Hao, and it is very possible that the editor even doubted the authenticity of Lan Bochu. Otherwise, Doflamingo will not come directly to kill him. Of course, it may also be because after handing over the method of making the blue wave ball, his value in Doflamingo's heart has been greatly reduced. After all, Doflamingo can let Caesar Current continue to improve the blue wave. With his technological capabilities, it is not difficult to do this. After thinking about this, Yang Hao smiled bitterly. I didn't expect to fall here. It seems I should be more cautious. But thinking about it, it doesn't seem strange. In the original work, when the Straw Hats were fighting Don Quixote, Violet seized the opportunity and defected before the battle. It's normal for her to behave like this now. In addition, Yang Hao also plans to put his hope of improving Rambo Ball on Caesar Current. It is normal for the opponent to understand the mystery of Rambo Ball. It is estimated that after Brother Ming got the blue wave ball formula, he immediately went to Caesar Current. Otherwise, Doflamingo would never easily kill him who developed the blue ball because of Violet's words. Thinking of this, Yang Hao felt a little lucky. Fortunately, after he got the money, he quickly started simulating. Otherwise, in a day or two, when Doflamingo really comes to kill him in reality, he will not even have a chance to explain. And now, since he knew Violet's operation in advance, he could completely avoid it. The solution is also very simple, just deal with this woman directly. Call. Thinking of this, Yang Hao took a breath and continued to simulate. On the first day, you did not practice, but were alone in the room, waiting for Violet's arrival. Close black lens bracket. At night, as expected, Violet appeared. Close black lens bracket. Walking into the room, Violet was about to speak, but what greeted her was your cold gaze. Close black lens bracket. Before she can speak, you have suddenly launched an attack, with animal shape, sonic waves, and unlimited firepower. Close black lens bracket. Under your series of blows, Violet was unable to react at all and was directly beaten into a sieve of flesh and blood. The sound of the battle quickly attracted the attention of everyone in the palace. Baby 5, Doflamingo and others arrived one after another. Close black lens bracket. The statement you gave was that Violet wanted to kill you, and you fought back and killed the other party. Doflamingo seems to have preset this statement. Close black lens bracket. It's just that in the following days, you clearly felt that Doflamingo's attitude towards you had become cold. Close black lens bracket. Perhaps there has been no progress in the research on the blue wave ball, or maybe the effect of the blue wave ball has not met Doflamingo's expectations. Close black lens bracket. You don't pay too much attention to it, as long as it doesn't affect your practice, your focus should still be on practicing the 6 postures. Close black lens bracket. The practice of the 6 postures is indeed not simple. Close black lens bracket. In other words, your talent is not enough. If you are a 6-style genius such as Rob Lukey, you will probably master it quickly. Close black lens bracket. Originally, you thought that among the 6 postures, shaving would be the easiest to master, but when you actually practice it, you find that it is still difficult. close black lens bracket. Many times, after a month, there is no result. On the contrary, he has practiced more and his body has grown slightly, close black lens bracket. 2 months, half a year, 1 year, in the blink of an eye, more than a year has passed. During this period, you learned a lot of important information from baby -5. Close black lens bracket, open black lens bracket. For example, over in the East China Sea, the son of luck wearing a straw hat has already emerged. Close black lens bracket. The Whitebeard pirates have a rare trader, a guy nicknamed Blackbeard. Close black lens bracket. Another example is that Doflamingo actually has some special feelings for Violet. Close black lens bracket. There is not much progress in practicing the 6 movements, so you decide to stop the simulation. Close black lens bracket. The simulation is over, and the benign changes are obtained. 1. Muscle strength. 2. 6 style practice experience, and the malignant changes are eliminated. 1. The anxiety caused by the fruitless practice. 2. The hidden wounds left by hard practice. Close black lens bracket. Another simulation ends. The 300 million Baileys that Yang Hao had on hand shrank by 1/10. However, the harvest this time was not great. The primary goal of Yang Hao's simulation is naturally to practice the 6 movements. But what he didn't expect was that after more than a year of training, he couldn't even master one of the 6 moves. On the contrary, his physique has become a little stronger due to practicing the 6 postures. Yang Hao couldn't laugh or cry. Sure enough, the 6 postures are not that easy to practice. Muttering, Yang Hao shook his head. In fact, Yang Hao is no stranger to the 6 styles. Especially Shao, he even knows the general method of cultivation. It is probably the result of stepping on the ground dozens of times in an instant, obtaining explosive reaction force, and achieving high-speed movement. In fact, before acquiring the 6-stage cultivation method, Yang Hao also tried practicing and shaving. To be honest, if you can master shaving, you will be very comfortable whether attacking or escaping. In view of this, Yang Hao actually tried to practice during the West Blue period. It's a pity that he doesn't have Luffy's amazing talent. He can do it after just one look. After practicing several times, there was no result, so he could only put it aside temporarily. But now, after actually acquiring the 6-stage cultivation method, Yang Hao realized that neither shaving nor the other 6-stage exercises was as easy as imagined. For example, the principle of shaving is indeed to step on the ground dozens of times in an instant, but the direction and intensity have strict standards. Probably only a monster like Luffy can master it if he knows the principles. Rob Lucky should also be such a monster. As for the other CP9s, they are geniuses who practice the 6 movements. And Yang Hao is, well, very ordinary. Of course, there may also be a reason why Yang Hao has no one to guide him. Someone like Rob Lucky and others must be guiding them. So, can Yang Hao let Virgo give him guidance? For this, we obviously have to resort to Doflamingo. Yang Hao couldn't help but think of the last information that baby -5 found out. Doflamingo has strange feelings for Violet. It's unlikely that someone with Doflamingo's background and personality would have feelings for Violet. Of course, this possibility cannot be ruled out. After all, Doflamingo is also a man. So, if he wants to get Virgo's guidance, does he want to change Violet's ending? Once Doflamingo is in a good mood, he should readily agree. Of course, Yang Hao knew that Doflamingo was so cold to him because of Lan Bochu. Although the Blue Wave Ball allows users with animal fruit abilities to obtain multiple transformations, it still requires practice. It will undoubtedly take a lot of effort to practice to the point where you can completely master the deformation. Yang Hao can simulate shortening time, but others cannot. Ever since, the effect of the Blue Wave Ball can indeed be said to be unsatisfactory. Unless, Yang Hao develops a more effective or more stable Blue Wave Ball. But in this simulation, he did not conduct research on the Blue Wave Ball at all. To sum up, it is normal that Yang Hao did not gain much this time. Fortunately, with this experience, Yang Hao should be able to do better next time. Chapter 78, Part 1. Yang Hao activates mind enhancement. He reviewed the simulation content just now. Then Yang Hao discovered that the most urgent task was to get rid of Violet first. After all, there is not much time until Violet arrives in reality. Only by completely dealing with Violet's side can he truly practice with peace of mind. Of course, if Violet's existence will also affect Doflamingo's attitude towards him, then he must be even more cautious. However, is there any way to prevent Violet from framing him without killing her? To be honest, in Yang Hao's opinion, the method of killing Violet was right. Although Doflamingo's attitude did become colder later on, at least he would not have the murderous intention to kill him again like the first time. After killing Violet, Yang Hao did practice with peace of mind for more than a year. That is to say, he ended the simulation when he felt it had no effect, otherwise he should be able to simulate it for longer. With the strengthening of his mind, Yang Hao's thinking became very clear. Inspiration also comes to mind. Soon, he had a way to get the best of both worlds. But whether it can work or not, you still have to simulate it to know. On the first day, you left baby -5 directly and waited for Violet to arrive. Close black lens bracket. Night falls, Violet arrives as promised. You don't hide anything, but look directly into each other's eyes. Close black lens bracket. Violet started to spy on your thoughts as usual, but what surprised her was that your thoughts were actually to deal with Doflamingo. This idea made Violet look a little strange. When you saw this, you breathed a sigh of relief. The idea of dealing with Doflamingo was deliberately created by you, in order to make Violet give up dealing with you, and even thought that you were a capable person. Objects to win over. Close black lens bracket. In this way, after a conversation, Violet bids you farewell and leaves. Close black lens bracket. You think it should be fine, and then you concentrate on practicing. Close black lens bracket. But Doflamingo, who came with a cold expression the next day, caught you off guard. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. You are dead. Close black lens bracket. The simulation is over, no benign changes have been obtained, and no malignant changes have been eliminated. Close black lens bracket. Yang Hao looked confused. What's going on? This time, he was clearly prepared, but he was still killed by Doflamingo. In other words, Violet sold him? No, to be precise, you tricked him again. Thinking of this, Yang Hao frowned. What's going on? Didn't he already reveal to Violet his idea of dealing with Doflamingo? According to the saying that the enemy of my enemy is my friend, Violet should not trick him again. What on earth is going on? Or is it that Violet is still worried, so she decided to trick him? After thinking about it carefully, Yang Hao seemed to understand Violet's thoughts. After all, on the surface, he is just an animal-type fruit ability user. Can he really deal with Doflamingo like this? So, Violet thinks that his non-existence in this world caused the failure or lack of progress of the Blue Wave project, which would have a greater impact on Doflamingo. That's probably it. Yang Hao thought of the situation in the original work again. In the original work, Violet did not turn against the Straw Hats at the beginning. She decided to turn against the Straw Hats only after being moved by Sanji later. In other words, at the beginning, Violet had no confidence in the Straw Hats who had brought down the 2-7 warlords of the sea. Not to mention that he is just a mere animal-type fruit ability user now. Just realized that Yang Hao was in trouble. It's not possible to kill Violet, nor is it possible not to kill her. What else can be done? You can't fall in love with her, right? Hey, wait, at this moment, Yang Hao was suddenly startled. He blinked and entered the mind to strengthen again. With his intelligence improved and his thinking clear, he began to consider the feasibility of this sudden idea. It doesn't seem impossible to have S*X with Violet. Because in this way, I can get involved with him. In addition, he deliberately formed the idea of dealing with Doflamingo. In this case, will Violet give up the idea of cheating her? After all, if he becomes Violet's man, Violet's maneuverability will also become greater. Yang Hao thought about it carefully, and the more he thought about it, the more he thought this idea was okay. Perhaps, he simply pretended to be lustful, and then broke the relationship with the other party, deliberately leaving an excuse for Violet. Compared to getting rid of Yang Hao, if Yang Hao can be successfully won over, Violet is probably willing to do it. After all, even if Yang Hao is just an ordinary animal-type fruit ability user, he is not too weak. After all, he can help Violet get rid of Ming Ji's control, and even revenge and restore the country. Of course, it doesn't matter if the idea doesn't work. Anyway, it's just a simulation, and the time is only a day or two. It didn't cost much, and Yang Hao could afford it. Thinking of this, Yang Hao immediately stopped hesitating and started the simulation again. The first time, you set aside baby -5 and waited until Violet arrived. Close black lens bracket. You pretend to be lustful and test Violet. Close black lens bracket. Violet did not refuse, half-heartedly, and hugged you. Close black lens bracket. It was actually your first time with the other party, but to be on the safe side, you still showed the terrifying endurance of the animal fruit ability, hitting you again and again. Under your whipping, Violet was quickly defeated, begging for mercy with misty eyes, and you began to take the initiative. Close black lens bracket. Then you started to ask Violet, deliberately leading the topic to Doflamingo, and at the same time, an idea was drawn in your mind that you wanted to kill Brother Ming. Close black lens bracket. Violet seemed to believe it, and later even took the initiative to tell her life experience. Close black lens bracket. Things seem to be going very well, but it still depends on Doflamingo's reaction. Close black lens bracket. If Doflamingo continues to kill, it only means that Violet is not really joining forces with you. Close black lens bracket. The next day, you didn't wait for Doflamingo, but instead waited for Violet again. Close black lens bracket. Violet obviously came to test your thoughts again, but you didn't show any clues. Close black lens bracket. On the third day, you confirmed that you have passed the test. Doflamingo will not cause trouble for you. Violet obviously regards you as one of his own and did not frame you. Close black lens bracket. In the following days, you were finally able to practice with peace of mind. You quickly found Doflamingo and asked him to let Virgo teach you the 6 movements. Of course, the excuse was for research. Close black lens bracket. Doflamingo agreed, but he did not ask Virgo to provide personal guidance. He only asked the other party to provide him with 6 style training experience. Close black lens bracket. You also feel like you have obtained a treasure and start to continue practicing the 6 postures. Close black lens bracket. It's really different with the guidance experience, you will make progress quickly. Close black lens bracket. 2 months, 4 months, and 1 year later, you finally mastered shaving. This high-speed movement makes you addicted to it and feels happy. Close black lens bracket. But there are also things that make you unhappy, that is, Violet often comes looking for you. Close black lens bracket. In order to cope with the other party's ability, you have to be careful and always be careful not to let the other party see through your true thoughts. Close black lens bracket. But if it's just a simple chat, it's fine, but if Violet often comes to you for trysts, it's a bit uncomfortable. Close black lens bracket. For this reason, while you are in contact with Violet, you start to try to find a way to deal with the opponent's staring fruit ability. Close black lens bracket. In an unintentional attempt, you are surprised to find that the enhanced eyes can resist Violet's ability to peek, making her unable to see her own thoughts. The interdependence of abilities is indeed mysterious. Close black lens bracket. After dealing with Violet, you can continue to practice with peace of mind. Close black lens bracket. In the blink of an eye, 3 years have passed, and the Straw Hats are about to arrive. Chapter 79 6 Style Superman, Life Returned. Simulation ends. Obtain benign changes. 1. Muscle strength. 2. Master the 6 postures. Shaving. Moonwalk. 3. 6 postures practice guidance knowledge. Eliminate malignant changes. 1. Hidden wounds left by hard practice. Close black lens bracket. After the simulation ended, powerful power began to surge within Yang Hao's body. This simulation has made great progress. There is no need to talk about physical fitness. The most important thing is that Yang Hao has really mastered the 6 postures. Although it was only 2 of the moves, they were enough to surprise Yang Hao. Without saying a word, Yang Hao paused for a moment before suddenly disappearing from the spot. Shave. With a brush sound, Yang Hao's figure appeared in the corner. He looked back at the distance and found that he had moved 8 meters in an instant. Brush. 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 Yang Hao's figure disappeared again, then appeared again, over and over again. Having mastered shaving, he is like a child who has found a favorite toy and can't wait to put it to use. Strong winds were rising at the scene, and there was a constant sound of breaking through the air. After a while, Yang Hao stopped smiling. Then, he recalled it again, and suddenly he stepped on the ground and his figure climbed up. Boom. 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 The muffled sounds rose one after another, and a magical scene appeared. Yang Hao stepped on the void and started to step on the void. This magical way of hanging is naturally the moonwalk among the 6 movements. Yang Hao's handsome face smiled even more, at last. He also activates his 8 powers, using his enhanced feat to perform shave and moonwalk. The effect is indeed stronger, especially the shaving. The shaving performed in this form almost made Yang Hao transform into afterimages. After performing it for a while, Yang Hao stopped with a smile on his face and was satisfied. With these 2 moves, my strength has become stronger again, and my ability to survive has also been greatly improved. After all, now he can be said to be flying into the sky and escaping from the earth. Yang Haochang thought about it. Maybe in the future, Kaido's title of the most powerful creature in the sea, land and air, will give way to him. Next, Yang Hao's mind enlarged and he entered the enhanced mind state again. He began to review this simulation as usual. When the time came when the Straw Hats were about to attack, Yang Hao took the initiative to end it. Because there is no need to continue, he who has not even mastered hockey will probably not end well when the Straw Hats attack. Of course, it is still too early to consider dealing with the Straw Hats now. Yang Hao's attention is still on the near future. For example, how to deal with Violet. Sure enough, the method he thought of before to deal with Violet was effective. This woman can really conquer. It's just that Violet's ability to peek into her inner thoughts is a problem after all. It seems that even in the simulation, he spent a lot of effort to deal with the opponent. Fortunately, he finally found a way, which was to strengthen his eyes to prevent the other party from peeking. As for the reason, Yang Hao has already made some guesses. Is it because the eyes are the windows to the soul? After the eyes are strengthened, it is equivalent to thickening the windows or installing curtains, so Violet cannot see my inner thoughts. Thinking of this, Yang Hao couldn't help but smile. As long as you know this, dealing with Violet will be much easier. As for conquering Violet, Yang Hao felt that there were still some flaws. At the beginning, you should spend more time and train properly. It would be best to train Violet to be like BABY5, obeying her own words. In that case, he can truly practice with peace of mind. Instead of being disturbed and peeked at by the other party every 3 days. Of course, now that I have experience, I can probably do better in the future. Next, Yang Hao ignored Violet and focused on the 6 movements. In fact, it was proved that he really did not have the talent to practice the 6 styles. In 3 years, he only mastered 2 moves and 6 moves. And don't forget, in the simulation, Yang Hao was in a crazy cultivation mode from beginning to end. God rewards hard work, and hard work can make up for failure, which cannot fully explain his desperate level. Even so, he has only mastered 2 moves. This shows that Yang Hao's talent for the 6 moves is really not that good. Fortunately, the practice of the 6 postures becomes easier the further you go. After all, many of the 6 moves have different approaches but the same effect. For example, shaving and moonwalking are all skills related to the legs. Now that he has mastered Shao and moonwalk, he should be able to get twice the result with half the effort by practicing Lan Jiao. Interesting. After thoroughly mastering the 6 moves, he should be able to get twice the result with half the effort by practicing domineering. Thinking of this, Yang Hao stopped worrying. The current simulation results are obviously good, so just continue. Without wasting time, Yang Hao continued the simulation while Violet was not coming. Although I have found a way to conquer Violet, it is naturally best to simulate it several times. And if he wants to practice, he can still do it through simulation, which can be regarded as killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Open black lens bracket first day. Close black lens bracket. In this way, Yang Hao continued to simulate. Once, twice, 5 times, 10 times, soon, Yang Hao simulated it a dozen times more. If someone is at the scene, they will be able to find that with every simulation, Yang Hao's aura will become stronger. Such changes may not seem big, but cumulatively, they are also very amazing. Unconsciously, Bailey in front of Yang Hao completely disappeared. Immersed in the pleasure of getting stronger, he spent 300 million belly. At a certain moment, Yang Hao opened his eyes, and his eyes were so bright that they were so bright. Call. After taking a long breath, Yang Hao looked at the empty space in front of him, couldn't help but be startled, and then smiled bitterly. Accidentally, I spent all my money again. But feeling the power surging inside his body like a storm, Yang Hao felt that it was worth the money. A brush sound. The next second, Yang Hao disappeared from the spot. This is shaving. As soon as Yang Hao took a step, his figure rose. This is moonwalk. The person was in midair. Yang Hao kicked his legs. A green light suddenly appeared and disappeared directly into the wall in front. This is Lanji. As soon as he landed on the ground, Yang Hao's figure swayed, as if dancing, but very elegant. This is paper painting. There are also iron blocks. Finally, Yang Hao moved his fingers, leaving deep finger holes on the wall. There is no doubt that it is a gun. Call. Yang Hao took another long breath, with a bright smile on his face. At this point, he has completely mastered the 6 styles and has become a veritable 6 styles Superman. Of course, after spending a full 300 million, his simulated gains were more than that. Next, another strange change occurred in Yang Hao. The muscles on his body suddenly swelled and then began to shrink again. Expansion, contraction again. The same goes for his height, which suddenly soared to more than 2 meters, and then became the height of a soldier. A head of short black hair also magically grew and danced slowly. The same is true for other parts, as if they can be controlled freely. It's extremely weird. I believe all Hainan fans will be familiar with this scene. That's right, it's the return of life. Chapter 86 King's Spear, change its shape at will. That's right. The abnormality on Yang Hao's body at this moment is the return of life. The so-called return of life is a magical skill related to the body. This skill can freely control any part of the body, hair, internal organs, etc. The principle is that by pouring consciousness into the body, you can freely control anywhere. In the original work, it was Rob Lukey and the Lion Nudie who first displayed this skill. Both of them are CP9, other than that, it's just Luffy. After he is full, he can digest the food in an instant. But obviously, Luffy should have mastered it by accident. As for Luo Bu Lukey and the Lion, it is very likely that he mastered this magical skill through practicing the 6 postures and gaining relevant insights. This was also confirmed by Yang Hao, because he also realized the return of life in the process of practicing the 6 postures. However, the reason why he understood this skill seemed to be related to his physique and the multiple transformations he had mastered. In terms of physique, Yang Hao's physique is already very strong. Although it was not stated explicitly, in fact, during the days of Dressrosa simulation, he had been using gastrointestinal strengthening to strengthen his body. After all, it is impossible for Doflamingo not to provide him with food. The strengthening of the gastrointestinal tract, coupled with the growth brought about by practicing the 6 postures, so that after spending 300 million belly, Yang Hao's physique has soared a lot. At this time, even compared to a killer like Rob Lukey who has experienced devil training since childhood, Yang Hao's physique is probably not much better, or even stronger. As for the multiple transformations, Yang Hao didn't make any associations at first. But now it seems that the changes in each body part are not the return of life. Ever since, when Yang Hao practiced to the end, it was a matter of course, and he naturally mastered the return of life. After mastering the return of life, Yang Hao's practice of multiple transformations was completely accomplished. His multiple enhanced transformations are no longer limited to the forms he has mastered before, but can be done wherever he wants. For example, kidneys. Another example, tail. To put it simply, wherever he wants to strengthen, he can strengthen it. You can imagine how much benefit this will bring to him. In addition, the mastery of life return also allowed Yang Hao to master the 6 style secret and the 6 king spear. That's right, it's Rob Luki's move, the 6 style secret and 6 king spear. Originally, in Yang Hao's view, even if he mastered the 6 styles, he still had to master the number of 6 styles before he could use the 6 king's spear. But Yang Hao soon discovered that this idea was not quite correct. The 6 king's spear does require mastering the 6 styles, but it does not require much proficiency. As long as you can perfectly control your body, you can combine the 6 styles and unleash the 6 king's spear. In fact, the Luwang gun is derived from the 6 styles, but not entirely. This is all because in Yang Hao's understanding, the 6 king's spear actually condenses the terrifying power generated everywhere in the body to explode and form an impact. The reason why it is related to the 6 postures is that only when the body is qualified to practice the 6 postures, can it be able to concentrate the impact. And the above is all Yang Hao gained from spending 300 million Baileys to simulate this time. The 6 forms and the secrets of the 6 forms and the 6 king's spear, return of life, and arbitrary form changes. After mastering these skills, it is conceivable that Yang Hao's strength will increase. In fact, Yang Hao like this is fully qualified to practice domineering. But it's a pity. The money has been spent. Yang Hao shook his head but didn't care. Strength is the root of everything. Now that his power has become stronger, it is naturally easier to make money. Even now that all 300 million has been spent, the research on the blue wave ball has not made any progress or even started. It is hard to explain to Doflamingo. But soon, Yang Hao stopped thinking about it. Just spend it all. Didn't Doflamingo let him have no money before talking? Haha. It's a bit exaggerated to spend it all in one day. It seems that it will take a few days before I can tell Doflamingo. But these days, he still has to think of ways to make money. After all, he still needs to learn hockey. In addition, he also needs to continue practicing the 6 forms and strive to develop some 6 forms extension skills that suit him. In short, the funding gap is still huge. However, Yang Hao was not too worried about this. Don't forget, he also has a castle fruit on hand. Now that Don Quixote has been added, this fruit can be put up for auction at any time. Even if the envisioned billion is not sold, a few 100 million would be enough for Yang Hao's development for the time being. And just when Yang Hao was considering whether to put the castle fruit up for auction, there was a knock on the door. Who? Yang Hao raised his eyebrows. As if something suddenly occurred to him, a hint of a smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. After starting the simulation, it won't take much time in reality, but time will gradually pass after all. Yang Hao spent 300 million belly, and before he knew it, it was night. And counting the time, it's time for that woman to come to the door. Sure enough. After the door was opened, Yang Hao was greeted by a charming figure wearing a purple Madara dress. She has black wavy hair and a charming temperament all over her body. It's Violet. Violet, who are you? Yang Hao asked knowingly. Let me introduce myself. I am Violet, and I am also a cadre of the Don Quixote family. Violet introduced softly, then explained her purpose of coming. Baby -5 has something to do. I'm here to bring you dinner. Only then did Yang Hao realize that Violet was holding a tray with some food on it. This amount is definitely not enough for Yang Hao. But he didn't pay attention, just stared at Violet. Yang Hao naturally understood that baby -5 was taken away by Violet. As for the purpose of this woman's coming, it is self-evident. Yang Hao's eyes flashed with a trace of amusement. As for Violet, it seemed that she couldn't stand Yang Hao's gaze anymore, and there was a hint of blush on her pretty face. She started talking softly to Yang Hao again, but her right hand pretended to be scratching an itch. Instead of making the OK gesture, she began to activate the staring fruit ability to peek into Yang Hao's heart. Eye enhancement can completely resist the other party's prying eyes. But Yang Hao did not take action, but deliberately cooperated, revealing his desire to covet the other party. Beyond that, of course, there is dissatisfaction with Doflamingo. Ever since, the next thing happened naturally. The distance between Violet and Yang Hao was getting closer and closer, and the charming aura of the other person kept creeping into Yang Hao's nose. Yang Hao stretched out his hand and directly blocked the opponent's waist. Violet's beautiful eyes are like water. Aren't you baby 5's husband? Not tonight. The room suddenly became charming. Kidney strengthening. Big DK enhancement. Chapter 81 Yi giving money. At midnight, baby -5 came back. Ever since she broke up with Yang Hao, she has become a clingy little fairy. Violet was able to push it away, but as soon as she had time, she ran back. But what he saw when he came back here shocked baby-5. How, you guys? Violet is embarrassed. Yang Hao was not surprised. In the simulation, there was also a situation where baby -5 ran back midway, but it was just briefly mentioned. In fact, even if reality happened for the first time, he was not worried at all. Compared to the embarrassed Violet, Yang Hao did not change his expression and pulled baby -5 into the battle group. This situation really embarrassed baby-5, but if you want to coax her well, it's not that simple. The only thing to consider is whether Yang Hao can take it with 1 against 2. This is also not a problem. With his original ape ability and physique, it would be a piece of cake for Yi Yu's 7 girls, not to mention that he can now master the shape changes at will. That's all. A night of spring scenery and a night of silence. The next day, Baby -5 woke up first, and Yang Hao sent her directly to get food. Baby, open your eyes when you wake up. After Baby -5 left, Yang Hao said to the beauty beside him with a smile. After a night of moisturizing, Violet's charming temperament became more intense, like a flower in full bloom. Hearing this, Violet blushed and slowly opened her beautiful eyes. She had indeed woken up a long time ago, but she just didn't know how to face the current situation. Especially I don't know how to face Yang Hao. In her opinion, she took the initiative to commit herself to Yang Hao last night. But they haven't talked about how to deal with Doflamingo yet. Of course, Violet also knew that she couldn't act too hastily. You can't just ask Yang Hao to deal with Doflamingo with you as soon as you break through the relationship, right? Violet decided to figure it out slowly, at least to make Yang Hao inseparable from her and to make sure that he would deal with Doflamingo for herself. Only then would she reveal her life experience and things. With this idea in mind, Violet didn't make any requests to Yang Hao, just got dressed and left. Yang Hao watched the graceful figure disappear with a smile on his face. Violet didn't single out Doflamingo, so naturally he didn't bother to say more. In fact, it is impossible for Yang Hao to fight against Doflamingo for Violet, at least not now. Since Violet didn't say anything, he was naturally happy to do so. After all, his purpose was just to deal with Violet and pass the current level. Not long after, Baby -5 came back with a lot of food. This is not because Yang Hao did it intentionally, but because Baby -5 knew Yang Hao's appetite and bought a lot of food. In addition, there is another person following BABY5. An old man, wearing a tight-fitting fighting suit. Raoji. Yang Hao's eyes lit up. Yes, the old man who came back with Baby -5 is none other than Raoji. Regarding the arrival of Raoji, Yang Hao was also not surprised. After taking care of Violet, Doflamingo will naturally not attack. What followed was the flattery of other cadres. That's right, just to please. You know, Doflamingo has held major meetings regarding Blue Wave. Therefore, the cadres all know the importance of Yang Hao to the family. Even if Caesar Current can take over the Lambo Ball project, Yang Hao will eventually have a certain status. In addition, even if Lan Bochu is not considered, his combat power is extraordinary. Defeating Raoji proved that his strength was not much worse than that of the top cadres. Even if he is not the top cadre now, he will most likely be in the position in the future. In view of this, the cadre's attitude towards him was naturally very enthusiastic and harmonious. Of course, Yang Hao knew that Raoji's arrival was also authorized by Doflamingo. This is also intentional. The purpose is to make Yang Hao feel Don Quixote's acceptance. In this regard, Raoji did not resist at all. Being despised and defeated by Yang Hao really made him a little angry. But compared to the interests of the family, it is nothing. Ever since this scene has happened, it is worth mentioning that Raoji seemed to be safe and sound at this time. Seeing this situation, Yang Hao's face showed a hint of surprise. Uncle Raoji, are you okay? You are really getting stronger with age. Raoji nodded and said with a smile, I'm not that fragile, but you are really good. He did not say anything about his recovery, but Yang Hao also knew the reason. The Don Quixote family worked with a large number of small humans, and among them was Manchueli, who had the ability to heal fruits. Raoji was indeed seriously injured, but with Manxueli's ability, it was not difficult to heal him. How's it going? How do you feel when you come here? Are you getting used to it? Do you feel comfortable living here? Do you want to change your place? Next, Raoji chatted with Yang Hao about home affairs. Yang Hao naturally nodded repeatedly. After chatting for a while, Raoji finally stated the purpose of his visit. By the way, I heard that you were going to conduct research on that Blue Wave ball. I can't help you. There are 20 million here. I hope I can help you. Played some help. Saying this, Raoji really took out 20 million belly. Yang Hao quickly said in a sincere tone, thank you so much. Raoji not only came to ask for help, but also took the initiative to give money, which was very suitable for Yang Hao. 20 million Baileys may not seem like much, but it is also a lot. From BABY5, Yang Hao already knew the welfare benefits of Don Quixote cadres. The cadres of the Don Quixote family all start with an annual salary of tens of millions. As for top cadres like Pika and Torbil, their income is tens of millions. This shows that Doflamingo really treats his cadres as family members. For a precarious pirate, this kind of annual salary is really very high. Now, Raoji has sent the equivalent of 2 years' salary. This kind of feeling is really speechless. Of course, in addition to the intention of making good friends, Raoji also had the intention of winning over Yang Hao. Although the cadres are so united, there is also competition behind the scenes. Mainly because they belong to different armies. Where Raoji is located as the fighting force led by Diamante. To this, Yang Hao naturally agreed. For him, it doesn't matter which army he joins, as long as he has money. Besides, actually being close to Raoji would be of great benefit to Yang Hao. Because next, his goal is to practice domineering. Conqueror's hockey is not considered for now, but the two-color hockey must be cultivated as soon as possible. And Raoji has mastered the two-color domination. He can't teach high-level hockey, but if you want to get started with hockey, it will definitely be no problem. Chapter 82 The Fierce Ape, Make Money. After receiving a satisfactory answer, Raoji finally left with a smile. Baby -5 looked at the money left behind and sighed. Uncle Raoji is so generous. At the end, he sighed, it would be great if I had that much money. Yang Hao shook his head. 20 million is indeed a lot, but for him, it is not a lot. You have to practice domineering and develop 6 style extension skills. 20 million is not enough. As for BABY5, doesn't she also have an annual salary of tens of millions, and is she still short of money? But soon, Yang Hao reacted. Baby -5 really has no money. This guy was defrauded of all his money, and he probably still owes a lot of loan sharks. Hey, wait, loan shark? Yang Hao was suddenly startled. Next, his main goal in reality is, of course, to make money. Raoji sent 20 million, which is far from enough, and right now, having just spent Doflamingo's 300 million, it's hard to talk to him for the time being. So, what other ways can we continue to make money? Thinking of Baby 5's situation, Yang Hao suddenly had an idea. BABY5, do you owe a lot of loan sharks? Hearing this, BABY5 was stunned, and then said moodily. Yes, how, do you want to help me pay it back? Well, I'd like to borrow some money too. What? BABY5 was completely stunned. As far as she knew, Yang Hao had 300 million given by Doflamingo, and now Raoji had given another 20 million. Logically speaking, Yang Hao should not be short of money. Why do you still need to borrow loan sharks? Yang Hao chuckled. I can't help it, researching Blue Ball is really expensive. Please help me introduce loan sharks. Upon hearing Yang Hao's request, Baby -5 naturally would not refuse and rushed to contact him. Using Yang Hao's name and his status as a Don Quixote cadre, he finally obtained another 30 million loan from a loan shark introduced by BABY5. Usury, as the name suggests, has really high interest rates. But Yang Hao didn't care because he never thought about paying it back. As a result, he soon had another 50 million belly on hand. Of course, the money is still not much. In fact, Yang Hao also has a way to get huge amounts of money. That is to auction off the castle fruit in your hand. However, from BABY5, Yang Hao learned that although the Don Quixote family owns the auction house business, they do not auction it just because they want to. First of all, the castle fruit needs to be transported to the auction house, which takes time, probably more than a month. In addition, if the castle fruit wants to be auctioned at a high price, it will also take a period of time to operate. You can't just auction it off casually, right? You must notify those big customers in advance and publicize the castle fruit so that you can bid at a high price. In desperation, Yang Hao could only think of other ways to make money. Loan sharking is a good way to make money. Without considering paying back the money, this method is really good. Hello, I want to borrow money. Who am I? Haven't you heard of the ape? Then you must have heard of Don Quixote, right? Yes, I have joined Don Quixote now. Just tell me how much I can borrow, right? Don't want to borrow? It's okay if you don't want to borrow. I'll sweep your streets first. Don't worry, I will definitely pay back the money on time. How can I run away from a temple if I can run away from you? I, the fierce ape, make money. After Yang Hao borrowed money from here, he went to find other loan sharks. After a lot of coercion and inducement, plus some deception, in the end, he borrowed almost 100 million belly. Next, after collecting the loan shark's wool, Yang Hao turned to other cadres. Since the annual salaries of Don Quixote family cadres are so high, they are estimated to be tens of millions, or even billionaires. So can he borrow some money from these people to spend? The answer is yes. Because of Lan Bochu, Yang Hao is currently a favorite in the Don Quixote family. Such a person comes to my door to borrow money. Should I borrow it? Of course I borrow, and Yang Hao is not too arrogant. The average person only borrows a few million. However, even Buffalo Yang Hao did not let go. He borrowed back the money he had used to bribe him from the other party's hands. The same goes for Violet, who was also beaten by Yang Hao. And Raoji, just because he gave the money, it doesn't mean that he can't borrow it again. Speaking of which, in the process of making money, especially when borrowing money from Buffalo, Yang Hao actually thought of his old business. That is, go to the casino and win money. If you win at Casino Dressrosa, even if you win $1 billion, it won't be a problem. But in the end, Yang Hao gave up the idea. After all, the casino here is also Don Quixote's business. It wouldn't be a problem if he was like Buffalo and played a few games. If he wins tens of millions, hundreds of millions, or even $1 billion, Doflamingo will probably want to talk to him. No need. And Yang Hao is not suitable for gambling. Doflamingo didn't just give him money to eat, drink and have fun, he was probably keeping an eye on him secretly. If you don't do research, what's the point of gambling? In desperation, Yang Hao had no choice but to restrain this idea. But despite this, after a few days of hard work, his assets were approaching 300 million again. Ha ha, Looking at the results of the past few days, Yang Hao felt very happy. He suddenly realized that it didn't matter if he didn't sell the castle fruit. How should I put it? There are more opportunities in big cities. Staying at West Blue is somewhat restrictive. Opportunities like wiping out the 5 major gangs and harvesting 1 billion Baileys are still very, very rare. But the Grand Line is different. Now Yang Hao just came to Dressrosa to do some small tricks, and he has gained hundreds of millions. Isn't this money too easy to come by? Although Yang Hao was happy, he did not forget his mission. He finally gave Baby -5 some money to purchase a batch of materials for making blue wave balls. In fact, after Doflamingo obtained the blue wave ball manufacturing method, it is estimated that it is already manufacturing it. But what Yang Hao is doing now is not conflicting. He always has to put on a show and be perfunctory. It would be too much to spend so much money on Doflamingo without doing any research. In addition, the fact that he borrowed money from loan sharks and other cadres probably could not be hidden from Doflamingo. It's just that the other party turned a blind eye. But if Yang Hao doesn't start researching again, Doflamingo will probably take care of it. Yang Hao is certainly not willing to offend Doflamingo, a cash cow, if it is not necessary at present. So on the surface, he really started to make blue wave balls, conduct research and improve them. But secretly, Yang Hao naturally used this borrowed funds to start another simulation. The goal of this simulation is to learn domineering from Rao Ji. Of course, you can also let Rao use his training objects to help him become familiar with and develop the 6-position extension technique. Chapter 83 Practice, Unlimited Iron Blocks and Dewang Fist. After thinking hard with his brain and confirming that nothing was missing, Yang Hao started the simulation again. Needless to say, the goal this time is to practice domineering and familiarize yourself with the 6 moves, and to develop your own 6-style extended skills as much as possible. As for the time, let's set it before the Straw Hats attack. Regarding the situation of the Straw Hats attack, Yang Hao could not think of how to benefit for the time being. Moreover, with his current combat power, he was unable to control the situation, so he decided to deal with it coldly for the time being. On the first day, you found Rao Ji and directly explained your desire to learn domineering. Close black lens bracket. Rao Ji was not too surprised. He would be surprised if you didn't want to learn domineering. Close black lens bracket. It's just that Rao Ji was worried that practicing domineering would affect the research of Lan Bochu, so you just found an excuse and excused it. Close black lens bracket. Just kidding. How can research be more important than practicing domineering? Close black lens bracket. Which is more important, you still know very well, and as you completely master the return of life and can change it as you wish, your dependence on the blue wave ball has become much less. Close black lens bracket. Even in the dual enhanced form, there is no need to use the blue wave ball, except for monster enhancement. Close black lens bracket. But monster enhancement is a double-edged sword. You almost never intend to use it in reality, and it has little effect when used in simulation. Close black lens bracket. All in all, at present, the benefits of practicing domineering are greater than studying the blue wave ball, so you are not in a hurry. Close black lens bracket. In the following days, Rao Ji began to teach you how to practice 2-color domineering. During this period, Baby -5 and Violet came to see you, but you just did it perfunctory, and the same was true for the blue wave ball project. Close black lens bracket. You devote yourself to training. During the training with Rao Ji, you will inevitably compete with each other. You take this opportunity to become familiar with the 6 moves and try to develop your own 6 moves extension skills. Close black lens bracket. Rao Ji was greatly shocked when you performed the 6 forms. After having the 6 forms, even if Rao Ji used the Dewang Fist again, he would not be your opponent at all. Close black lens bracket. The 6-style mystery can even exert the effect of the Ape King's spear, easily defeating Rao Ji's mark. Close black lens bracket. During practice, Rao Ji will inevitably be seriously injured by you again. Fortunately, man surely has the healing fruit ability, so Rao Ji can appear with full health the next day. Close black lens bracket. 1 month, 2 months, just a few months passed in the blink of an eye. Close black lens bracket. You realize how difficult it is to practice domineering. Even with the 6 basic skills, it is extremely difficult. Close black lens bracket. On the contrary, you have gained a lot from the 6 movements and gradually become familiar with them. In addition, due to many times of sparring, you have also become more familiar with Lao Ji Di Wang Quan. This Qigong technique has vaguely brought you some inspiration. Close black lens bracket. You are touched, think about it, and simply use your brain to strengthen your understanding during the battle. Close black lens bracket. Using mind enhancement, the power exerted in actual combat is definitely not as good as other enhancements, but this form will help you understand the power. Besides, when practicing with Rao Ji, you don't need to maximize your power. Close black lens bracket. Mind strengthening is really useful. You will gain more in the 6 movements, and you will also vaguely touch the threshold of domineering. Close black lens bracket. 1 year, 2 years, in the blink of an eye, it's the day when the Straw Hats are about to attack again. Close black lens bracket. You did not continue the simulation, but chose to end it. Close black lens bracket. Simulation ends. Obtain benign changes. 1. A large number of 6 style experience. 2. Unlimited iron blocks. 3. Practice domineering experience. 4. Wang fist. 5. Muscle strength. Eliminate malignant changes. 1. Hidden injuries caused by hard training. 2. Long-term brain physical load from strengthening. Close black lens bracket. The simulation is over. A lot of experience and a little strength spread in Yang Hao's body. After feeling it silently for a while, Yang Hao's eyes lit up slightly. This time, it went very smoothly. There were no accidents during the period, so I continued to practice until the end of the set time. That was before the Straw Hats attacked, another 60 to 70 million expense. But the harvest is not small. He was completely familiar with the 6 styles. This, unlimited iron block, is the best proof. The so-called unlimited iron block means that when the iron block is used, it can still move. There are only 1 or 2 people in CP9 who can do this kind of iron block that breaks the rules. Yang Hao is well aware of the law of iron blocks, so when he is familiar with the 6 forms, the first strategy is to attack the iron blocks. Only by mastering the unlimited iron block would he not stand there stupidly and get beaten. But while attacking, you can still maintain a strong defense. Mastering this unlimited iron block naturally means that Yang Hao is completely familiar with the 6 styles. In other words, it didn't take long, otherwise, he would have probably developed his own 6-style extension technique. Of course, the most important thing is actually because Yang Hao puts more energy into cultivating 2-color domineering. After all, his main goal is domineering, and the 6-style extended skills are only secondary. What Yang Hao didn't expect was 2-color domineering. This time he spent nearly 3 years and did not master it. He just accumulated a lot of experience and touched the threshold. Yang Hao was greatly surprised. You know, dual-color domineering is a terrible ability in the New World. But after thinking about it, Yang Hao was not surprised. The iron blocks and paper paintings in the 6 moves are somewhat similar to the 2-color domineering front moves. Once you master these 2 moves, you will get twice the result with half the effort when practicing domineering. But the problem is that even with these 2 moves, Yang Hao spent a lot of time, not to mention domineering. Whether it is easy to learn domineering or not, you can actually know it just by looking at Luffy's experience. A peerless genius like Luffy can master the 6-style shaving in an instant, but it took him 2 years to practice 2-color hockey. Although some of it is due to the cultivation of Conqueror's hockey, the time spent cultivating the 2-color hockey will definitely not be that short. It will take a year and a half, right? Even Luffy needs a year and a half to practice 2-color hockey, but what about someone like Yang Hao who has no talent? Thinking of this, Yang Hao couldn't help but smile bitterly. Going back to what I just said, is dual-color domineering really bad in New World? Yes, it is indeed a bad street, but this does not mean that domineering is easy to learn. The reason why so many people master it is probably because only those who master the 2-color hockey can gain a foothold in the New World, right? Most of those who didn't master hockey were eliminated, probably because the original work didn't show it. It seems that there is still a long way to go to cultivate 2-color domineering. Yang Hao sighed. Then his attention fell on the Wang fist he had obtained this time. That's right, in this simulation, in addition to being familiar with the 6 postures and practicing domineering, Yang Hao also accidentally practiced Raoji's Wang fist. At the beginning, Yang Hao was a little surprised by this. But now, after integrating the skills of Wang Quan, he understood. All because Wang Quan is a special kind of Qigong. Qigong, Qi. Muttering, Yang Hao's face moved slightly. Chapter 84 Qi Control. Developing 6 types of extended techniques. Yang Hao's face moved slightly. Logically speaking, at his age, there is absolutely no need to practice Wang fist. This Wang Quan should have been developed by Raoji when he was in his 40s or 50s because he was worried about the decline of his strength due to old age. But now that Yang Hao has not yet reached his 20s, there is no need to worry about this at all. In other words, it's too early to worry. Although the moves of Wang fist are not weak, Yang Hao has 6 moves, which are completely sufficient. So, why did Yang Hao practice cultivation in the simulation? The reason is very simple, because this is a Qigong technique. Different from ordinary boxing techniques, this Wang boxing technique surprisingly includes the use of Qi. The sudden withering of the eyes, the formation of ice, the pain of the undead warrior. At first, Yang Hao didn't pay attention to the Wang fist moves, but after practicing, he discovered that in addition to power, these moves also contained Qi. It is precisely because of the blessing of Qi that the old Raoji can explode at a speed that surpasses human dynamic vision. There is also the final big move, fighting to protect the fist. This is completely an advanced use of Qi, to accumulate the strength of youth and strength and then explode it? The more Yang Hao thought about it, the more he realized the mystery of Wang fist. The most important thing is that the 6-style secret and 6-king spear is also an explosive move. There are obviously similarities and differences between the two. So, can the two be combined to form a stronger move? Yang Hao vaguely felt that this was also the direction of the 6-style extended technique. However, compared to other 6-position extension techniques, this 6-position extension technique will be more advanced because it involves Qi. Thinking of this, Yang Hao stopped hesitating and began to strengthen his mind. He reflected on this idea and also thought about other 6-style extension techniques. Talk about it. In fact, if there is no progress in the practice of domineering, maybe he can focus a little on developing the 6-style extension technique. After all, the 6-position extension technique will also greatly enhance his strength. This can be seen from the way he easily suppressed Rao Ji in this simulation. In general, power comes to the same end by different routes. The reason why he wants to master the 2-color hockey is simply to make up for the gap between the enemy and me. But if you are strong in other aspects, it is not impossible to save the country through curves. By the way, there is also the problem of long-term brain strengthening, which will cause load. Yang Hao suddenly narrowed his eyes. This vicious change also surprised him. That is, if the mind is strengthened for a long time, it will actually cause harm to the body. This was the first time he discovered it. Of course, this is also because in previous simulations, there were very few situations where mind enhancement was used for a very long time. But this time it was different. He was not talented enough, so he could only make up for it in this area. As for why it brought a load, Yang Hao thought about it for a while and understood the reason. Probably because of that form, the mind is too strong and does not match the body. You know, the human body is born in a state of balance. The hands, feet, eyes, ears, etc. are all balanced and symmetrical. So, if one part suddenly becomes stronger, will the other part be affected for a long time? The answer is obviously yes. For example, if one hand becomes extremely large while the other hand remains the same, problems will definitely arise over time. After realizing it, Yang Hao didn't pay too much attention. In reality, the time he uses his mind to strengthen is still very short. With his current body, he can completely bear it. And his body will get stronger and stronger, so there is no need to worry. And then, now that he had clarified his new simulation thoughts, Yang Hao naturally did not waste time and started the simulation again. On the first day, you found Rao Ji again for advice. Close black lens bracket. The reason for looking for Rao Ji is still to practice dual-color domineering. Close black lens bracket. But this time, you are not as impatient as before, but more calm. Close black lens bracket. The practice of domineering is as difficult as ever and difficult to master, but you don't care. After practicing domineering on a daily basis, you are familiar with the 6 postures again. Close black lens bracket. After mastering the unlimited iron blocks, you will soon have the inspiration for a 6-style extended technique, which is to add iron blocks on the basis of the Ape King Spear. There is no doubt that the originally powerful Ape King Spear has become stronger again. You call this 6-style extension skill the Iron Block Ape King Spear. In addition, you did not forget to imitate the 6 extended techniques of the original CP9. Among them, Rob Lukey's paper painting and martial arts were quickly mastered by you. Close black lens bracket. During development, your attention suddenly falls on your own tail. Close black lens bracket. After mastering the life return, your tail can also enter the strengthened form. On this premise, if you add elements such as iron blocks, it seems to be a good 6-style extension skill. The more you think about it, the more interesting it becomes. Using the tail to launch the 6-position extension technique may not be powerful enough for the arms and legs, but the advantage lies in surprise. Just imagine, when facing the enemy, both hands and feet are attacking the enemy, but suddenly the tail also turns into a sharp weapon to attack. What kind of advantage will it bring? Close black lens bracket. This situation has also been verified by Rao Ji. You used your tail to use iron blocks, finger guns, and unexpected attack methods, which made Rao Ji suffer a lot. In excitement, you named such a tail again for the Golden Cudgel. With 6 styles, your original stone throwing skills seemed to be of no use, but you soon had a new idea. You used Langia instead of stone throwing, forming a new unlimited firepower. Close black lens bracket. After some trial and error, you developed another 6-position extension technique for Langia, and you named it Invincible Hot Wheels. The last simulation seems to have laid a solid foundation for your 6 postures, giving you a sense of accumulation. Close black lens bracket. Continue to develop, and you get another iron block extension technique. The principle is to use fur to strengthen and add iron blocks, and at the same time use the life return to weave the skyrocketing hair to form an extremely tough hair armor. You have taken this move again. A majestic name. King Kong is indestructible. The gains from the 6-position extension skills will make you practice more calmly. Close black lens bracket. Again, since there is no gain in domineering, it would be good to develop some 6-style extension skills. These skills will also greatly increase your power. Close black lens bracket. With these 6 extended techniques, Rao Ji is no longer your opponent. You were very satisfied with this situation, so you continue to maintain it. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket 1 year. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket 2 years. Close black lens bracket. Soon, Yang Hao experienced another simulation. The next second, he refreshed and suddenly opened his eyes. The eyes are so bright that they are so bright. A rich joy appeared on Yang Hao's handsome face. The harvest this time is really huge. Chapter 85 Testing the Power of Extension, Skills, Baby -5 and Violet are shocked. After the simulation ended, Yang Hao couldn't wait to find Baby -5 and asked her to take him to the strongest training room in the palace. The gains from this simulation were so great that he couldn't help but want to test it. As for why he is the strongest, it is naturally because his strength has become much stronger. This is it. The young master usually practices here. Baby -5 pointed to the wide field and introduced. Yang Hao nodded. Since this is Doflamingo's training room, there should be no problem. Thinking like this, Yang Hao came to the court and stood still, took a deep breath, and suddenly his figure changed drastically. The hair on Kai Luo's upper body surged wildly, and his physique grew rapidly. In the blink of an eye, under Baby 5's gaze, Yang Hao turned into a 3-meter large ferocious golden ape. A strong and ferocious aura swept away, but the next second, there was a brush, and Yang Hao suddenly disappeared from the spot. Baby -5 was startled. Yang Hao's figure appeared again 10 meters away. But before Baby -5 could recover, Yang Hao stepped into the air and started walking. Then the fingers stabbed wildly, the figure swayed, and at a certain moment, the body stiffened. Baby -5 also had some knowledge and soon screamed in surprise. 6 forms. How? What you used was the 6th form. Baby-5 was greatly surprised. When did Yang Hao learn the 6 postures? Equally surprised was Violet, who was dozens of miles away. It is worth mentioning that Violet does not live in the palace, but lives outside. But she has been paying attention to the situation inside the palace. To be more precise, it's voyeurism. After all, even though Violet is currently working for Doflamingo, she still has the idea of revenge and restoration of the country in her heart. So she always paid attention to the Don Quixote family, trying to find opportunities. But after 7 or 8 years, she has gained nothing. I just watched Don Quixote continue to grow and become completely established in the new world. Originally, Violet thought that this situation would continue. But with the appearance of Yang Hao, Violet seemed to see a turning point. Yang Hao's blue ball will indeed strengthen the Don Quixote family, but water can carry a boat and also overturn it. If Yang Hao is brought over, can it overturn Don Quixote? It was precisely because of this idea that Violet gave herself to Yang Hao, even when Yang Hao borrowed money. To put it bluntly, this is an investment. I just don't know if she can get anything in return from Yang Hao. Out of this idea, Violet naturally began to pay attention to Yang Hao, and from time to time, she would use her power to spy on him. As a result, today, Violet was surprised to see Yang Hao taking Baby -5 out. They actually went to the practice room. When Violet was confused, Yang Hao actually started to perform 6 moves. Is this the 6th form? This Yang Hao knows 6 moves. Violet was as surprised as Baby-5, because according to the information she obtained, Yang Hao didn't know the 6 styles before. Otherwise, he would have used it against Raoji later. Yang Hao seemed to ask Doflamingo for a copy of the 6th-style cultivation method. She was also aware of this situation, but she didn't pay too much attention to it. Because in her opinion, even if Yang Hao wanted to practice the 6 styles, he would not be able to achieve results so quickly. If the 6 forms were so easy to learn, they would have been popularized in Don Quixote. But what's going on now? Did he already learn the 6 styles in just a few days? Violet's beautiful eyes widened with shock on her face. But the situation that shocked her even more was yet to come. After Yang Hao finished performing the 6-position technique, he did not stop, but continued to perform more powerful 6-position extension techniques. That's right, the 6 postures just now were just Yang Hao's warm-up moves. The current 6-position extension technique is his true testing ability. Golden Cudgel. Yang Hao gave a low shout, and the tail behind him suddenly started to dance vigorously. With a sudden swing, several iron men placed in the room were immediately knocked away. Immediately afterwards, the tail stretched out and stabbed out in a straight line, leaving a fist-sized hole in one of the iron men. What is this? Violet was stunned. Baby -5 was also very surprised. In a daze, they seemed to see Yang Hao wielding a giant stick, sweeping and smashing, with amazing power. But the problem is, Yang Hao didn't move his hands. When Yang Hao saw this, a smile appeared on his lips. This golden cudgel is the product of strengthening the tail and strengthening it with iron blocks. After being able to transform at will, any part of his body can be strengthened regionally, and combined with the 6 postures, it can form terrifying power. This also resulted in the tail that he had no use for suddenly becoming a weapon. Of course, this is also because Yang Hao accidentally learned a lot of stick skills before. Otherwise, this golden cudgel move is not so flexible and powerful. After playing with the golden cudgel for a while, Yang Hao's tail suddenly thrust into the ground again. With a pop, the hard ground was directly penetrated. Yang Hao dug his tail into the ground, and then directly supported his figure. At this time, his body was hanging in the air, and his feet were facing the iron men. Invincible. Hot Wheels. Without another word, Yang Hao shouted again and continued to perform the 6 postures. But what he used this time was Lan Jiao. His legs suddenly entered the strengthening state again and became extremely thick. When Yang Hao's strong feet began to pedal like crazy on a bicycle, huge and curved Saiyan wind blades emerged one after another. Boo-hoo-hoo. The air was cut open, and the dense green wind blades were really like green Hot Wheels, pouring crazily on the prop Iron Man. Each Iron Man was cut open, scattered, and shattered. Violet and Baby -5 were stunned again. Is this Arashi's feat? They have seen Lan Zhao before, but this is the first time they have seen such a strong Lan Zhao. Baby-5, attack me. Then, before Baby -5 could recover, Yang Hao's voice came to his ears again. Baby -5 looked over and saw that Yang Hao had stood up again and waved to her. I attack you? Baby-5 is a little stunned. Which one is he going to play? Come on, I just want to test my defense. After hearing this, Baby -5 suddenly realized. After a moment of hesitation, she activated her weapon ability, turned her hands into machine guns, and shot at Yang Hao. Bang bang bang. Baby 5's hands spit out flames, and powerful bullets poured out crazily towards Yang Hao. Well done. Vajra is indestructible. When Yang Hao saw this, he was not surprised but overjoyed. He immediately entered the fur enhancement and used iron. This is not over yet. At the same time, he also activated life return, controlled the hair, and quickly knitted it. At this moment, Yang Hao suddenly had 4 levels of defense. Iron blocks, hair armor made of woven hair, as well as his tough panels and strong body. This kind of defense seems to be really indestructible. Ever since, Baby 5's attack was unharmed to Yang Hao. Baby-5 was immediately dumbfounded, while Yang Hao smiled and continued to make the request. Baby-5, I need you to use a stronger attack. Baby -5 naturally would not refuse the request, so he gritted his teeth and directly conjured up a rocket launcher, shooting towards Yang Hao. Violet, who was peeping, couldn't help covering her mouth when she saw this. The power of such a rocket launcher is comparable to Marine's warship cannon. It is self-evident what the consequences will be if you are hit from the front. But then, an incredible situation occurred. Chapter 86 6 Types of Extended Strengthening Techniques, Turtle-Style Qigong. Boom. The rocket launcher landed on Yang Hao and made a loud noise instantly. The sound was so intense that even Violet, who was far outside the palace, seemed to hear it. However, when Violet saw this, her beautiful eyes widened in shock. The fireworks dust couldn't cover her sight, so she saw the result of the blow instantly. After being hit by a rocket launcher that was as powerful as a warship cannon, Yang Hao was still unharmed. This kind of defense is too perverted. Violet felt awe-inspiring. She suddenly realized that Yang Hao had not only mastered the 6 movements, but his power was also beyond the ordinary 6 movements. Soon, Baby -5 also realized this. As the smoke dispersed, she also saw Yang Hao's appearance at this time. I saw that most of the hair armor in front of Yang Hao was destroyed. But it's just hair nails. Looking at Yang Hao again, although his face was a little gray, his eyes were bright and his fierce aura was still the same. There is no sign of injury at all. In fact, Baby -5 can also conjure more powerful missiles, but even missiles, she feels, cannot break Yang Hao's defense at this time. The feeling of Baby-5 is not wrong. Yang Hao smiled and took a look at the situation on his body. As soon as he thought about it, the damaged hair nails recovered as the hair grew. He did not let Baby -5 continue to use stronger attacks because there was no need for it. At present, he is no longer able to break through the defense of Baby-5. Unless, Baby -5 can transform into a nuclear bomb. But Yang Hao had already asked this question. The weapons Baby -5 can conjure can only be those he has seen before. If she has no knowledge, even if a nuclear bomb is described to her, she will not be able to change it. Unless, she can reach the awakening state. Of course, it doesn't mean that once the weapon fruit awakens, it will definitely be able to create a nuclear bomb, but there is just some hope. But now, Yang Hao himself has not yet awakened, and he is not so leisurely to think about Baby 5's awakening. As soon as his thoughts were gone, Yang Hao continued to test the 6 extension techniques. The 8 King Spear, coupled with the Iron Block, is another powerful 6-position extended technique. The more he tried, the more surprised Yang Hao was. He suddenly discovered that it didn't seem difficult for him to develop the 6-style extension technique. It's all because he can strengthen his body as he wishes. If these body parts are used to perform 6 moves, they can be used as a 6-position extension technique. In this way, the 6-position extension technique he developed specially should not be called the 6-position extension technique, but should be called the 6-position extension strengthening technique. The Golden Cudgel, the Invincible Hot Wheels, the Indestructible King Kong, and the Iron Ape King Spear, these are all. Of course, Yang Hao's gains don't stop there. If it's just like this, it's not a big gain. The reason why it is said to be a great gain is entirely because, in addition to the above 6 types of extended strengthening skills, Yang Hao also gained something else. This harvest comes from Raoji's Duang Fist. As mentioned before, Raoji's Duang Fist may seem useless to Yang Hao, but in fact, it can bring inspiration to Yang Hao. This inspiration is even more profound in this simulation. Yang Hao even used this to develop a super powerful 6-type extended strengthening technique. The power of this 6-type extension enhancer is definitely stronger than the invincible Hot Wheels and the Iron Ape King gun. Thinking of this, Yang Hao became a little excited. Although he had tested it in a simulation, he still wanted to really test it in reality. This kind of impulse can be said to be completely uncontrollable. Call. Yang Hao took a deep breath, began to calm down, and silently mobilized his strength. The 6 moves used in this 6-position extended strengthening technique are none other than the 6-position secret, the 6-King Spear. Yang Hao, who has mastered the 6-King Spear, knows very well that this move, to put it bluntly, is an explosion of qi in the body. Physical energy that exceeds the limits of the human body will extend to terrifying power. This power, shown regionally, is the 6 styles. If combined, it becomes the 6 King's Spear. The 6 King's gun probably has an internal destructive effect, because it is a kind of qi impact. Yang Hao had a sudden inspiration before. Duang Quan is also a kind of qigong, but the difference from Luang Chang is that one is biased towards explosion and the other is biased towards storage. In this simulation, Yang Hao thoroughly implemented this inspiration and finally formed a feasible move. Use the Duang Fist to store and further compress the terrifying power in the body, and then use the principle of the 6 King's Spear to burst out. Of course, this kind of impact is too powerful, so arm strengthening is needed to assist. Ever since, at this moment, Yang Hao's arms suddenly became thicker. Then bring your palms together and place them in front of your belly. The Duang Fist was activated, and the power in the body began to gather rapidly. At this moment, Baby Five's expression suddenly changed. What? An extremely strong sense of danger arose in her heart, causing her to subconsciously stay away from Yang Hao at this time. A trace of horror appeared on his pretty face, at the same time. Violet, who was peeping, suddenly felt frightened. This was something she had never seen before. The 6-position extended strengthening technique just now amazed her. What is Yang Hao going to do now? Violet suddenly realized that she had underestimated the strength of this ferocious ape. She always thought that the other party was able to overthrow the Don Quixote family because of the blue ball. After all, she also knows a thing or two about the cooperation between Doflamingo and Kaido. If it works well, Blue Wave Ball may not be the key to the break between the two sides. When the time comes, one can imagine what will happen to Doflamingo if he angers Kaido. And this is why Violet thinks that Yang Hao's existence can overturn Don Quixote. But now it seems that the other party's force is also possible. Thinking of this, Violet suppressed the shock in her heart and stared at the scene intently. At this moment, the power in Yang Hao's body was compressed to the extreme. He condensed his eyes and immediately activated the 6 secrets. The next second, the 6 King's Spear exploded. Boom. A loud noise. Between Yang Hao's palms, a shockwave as thick as an arm suddenly shot out. The air was agitated, as if it couldn't bear the power. Rumble. Several iron props along the way exploded with a bang, and then the shockwave fell to the ground unabated, blasting a hole in the extremely hard ground. At this moment, the entire practice room, no, the entire palace was shaken. Underground, deep. There is an unknown underground factory here. Everything was fine originally, but at a certain moment, a shockwave penetrated directly into the ground and fell with a crash, causing a great commotion. At this moment, seeing the earth-shattering power, Violet covered her mouth tightly and her beautiful eyes widened. In the practice room, Baby Five's face was dull. As for Yang Hao, his face was flushed with excitement. Isn't this just? Turtle-style Qigong. Chapter 87 Wukong Jutsu. Create your own Super Saiyan. Turtle-style Qigong. What kind of turtle Qigong? BABY5 was puzzled. Yang Hao was all smiles. He was probably the only one who understood how excited he was at this moment. The so-called turtle-style Qigong is a skill from Dragon Ball. When he first appeared on the stage, this move was enough to shatter the moon, which is quite impressive. Yang Hao didn't expect that just a sudden inspiration would eventually evolve into such a unique trick. The impact of the 6 King's Spear was originally diffused, but due to the Duang Fist, it was also reduced, but its power was obviously strengthened. In the end, it formed what it looks like now. Isn't that highly condensed qi, that infinite power, exactly the turtle-style Qigong? Of course, Yang Hao's moves at this time are still somewhat different from the turtle-style Qigong. The Qigong waves of Turtle School Qigong are bright blue and dazzling. The Qigong wave released by Yang Hao at this time was translucent. However, in terms of power, they are very similar. At this moment, Yang Hao vaguely felt that his attack seemed to penetrate the surface. FK. Yang Hao was startled and stopped quickly. BABY5, when someone comes over later, just say that you caused this scene. Then after giving instructions to BABY5, Yang Hao quickly retreated. This is also the main purpose of finding BABY5. Now, his true force value is still not suitable for exposure. I just put a lot of effort into defeating Rao Ji a few days ago, and now it has strengthened so much in just a few days. How to explain it? Will Doflamingo be wary or even distrustful? But if you rely on BABY5, there will be no problem. With these thoughts in his mind, Yang Hao's figure flew directly out of the practice room. It is worth mentioning that Yang Hao did not fly away using moonwalk. Instead, the figure jumped into the air, put his hands together and flew smoothly. Call. This way, without stopping, the speed is much faster than moonwalk. With a flick of the brush, Yang Hao disappeared from the scene. Can it still fly? This guy. Seeing this, Violet in the distance finally came back to her senses from the shock just now, her beautiful eyes brightened. Seeing Yang Hao flying away, her eyes sparkled. The power of the Qigong wave just now clearly proved Yang Hao's power. Perhaps as she had spied before, Yang Hao did not sincerely surrender to Doflamingo but wanted to deal with him. Otherwise, there is no need for him to hide his strength. Thinking of this, Violet felt even more that she should further win over Yang Hao. But next, Violet's pretty face turned slightly red because she didn't know what she thought of. And here, in less than a minute, Yang Hao flew back to his residence. Finally landing smoothly, a circle of mud and dust suddenly stirred up around Yang Hao. That's the venting of anger. Seeing this phenomenon, Yang Hao smiled even more. The principle of his current flying method is actually the same as the Qigong wave just now. It's just that the previous Qigong waves were done with the hands, but this time, it was done through the feet. In the last simulation, after Yang Hao mastered the Qigong wave, he continued to become familiar with it, and then his inspiration burst out, thus learning this way of flying. If the Qigong wave just now was the turtle Qigong, then his flying method now is the air dance technique. Haha, turtle-style Qigong, Wukong technique. Yang Hao shook his head and laughed. In fact, he had not expected such a development. It's okay to have your own second gear, after all, it's the power of the same world. But what he never expected was that he would also be able to possess his own turtle-style Qigong and Wukong technique. This is the power of the Dragon Ball world. Does the appearance of these two mean that he has more possibilities? For example, through simulation, he can create his own Super Saiyan. Just thinking about this situation makes me a little excited. But at this moment, Yang Hao's thoughts were interrupted by something strange in his body. What's going on? Why are you so tired all of a sudden? Yang Hao frowned. He suddenly found that his body was unusually tired. It was as if his body had been hollowed out, and the feeling of fatigue came over him like a tide, giving him the urge to fall to the ground and sleep. What is going on? Yang Hao was surprised. When he thought about it, he seemed to have done nothing. I just tested the 6-position extended strengthening technique. Although these 6-position extended strengthening techniques require a lot of physical strength. But with his physique and ape fruit ability, it is absolutely impossible for him to run out of energy so quickly. With his physical strength, it shouldn't be a problem even if he uses the 6-style extended enhancer to fight for 2 days and 2 nights. But what's going on now? Yang Hao hesitated for a moment and immediately turned on the brain enhancement. In this form, he suddenly became energetic and his thoughts became more alert. The 6-style extended strengthening technique is more powerful than the ordinary 6-style extended technique, but naturally consumes more physical strength. But no matter how big he is, it's impossible for him to lose his physical strength in such a short period of time. What went wrong? Yang Hao thought carefully and even looked through the records of the simulation system. Soon, he found the reason. It turns out that the problem really lies in the 6-position extended strengthening technique. But it's not the skills like Golden Cudgel and Invincible Hot Wheels, but the final turtle-style Qigong and Wukong technique. To put it simply, it is anger. The reason is simple. With the energy of the 6 Kings Spear, it is actually unable to explode with such powerful power, nor can it support Yang Hao's high-speed flight. Therefore, the key to why Yang Hao is able to use turtle-style Qigong and Wukong technique lies in the Diwang Fist. Diwang Shen can store the strength of young and strong people. So, can this power be regarded as the energy in the body, or even the lifespan? Only in this way can Rao Ji, who used the ultimate move of Diwang Fist, regain the peak strength of his youth. From this point of view, this kind of energy, even if it is not lifespan, is something similar to spirit, energy and spirit. It's right to think about it. The power of turtle-style Qigong just now is much more powerful than the Iron Ape King Spear. How could such a powerful force come without any price? It's like heart strengthening. Yang Hao suddenly felt that skills like turtle-style Qigong might be the same as heart strengthening. It's just that the former explodes instantly, while the latter consumes slowly. Both of these will overdraw the body. After thinking about this, Yang Hao shook his head. Originally, with these 6-style extended strengthening skills, even if he didn't have domineering power, he might be able to compete with Shichibukai like Doflamingo. But now it seems that even if it can be overcome, it obviously cannot last long. In this case, it will still fail. Thinking of this, Yang Hao was not discouraged, but smiled. Although you haven't reached the sky in one step, you are already very powerful, right? Chapter 88 Caesar Current's Interests. Yang Hao's handsome face was smiling. This time he not only gained a large number of 6-style extended strengthening skills, but also gained unlimited possibilities. Perhaps in the future, his power will really reach a level comparable to that of a Super Saiyan, breaking through the world and traversing the universe? Or, he can go to other planes and worlds. Originally, Yang Hao didn't believe in any plane world. But such nonsense as time travel has happened. In addition to the world of pirates, it seems normal that there are other worlds. If this is the case, then Yang Hao's ultimate goal may have to be changed. Not only must we stand at the top of this world, but we must also explore other worlds. Yang Hao became more and more excited as he thought about it, but soon he calmed down again. Now that he has not even reached the strength of a normal Shichibukai, it is still a bit premature to think about traveling across the universe and exploring other worlds. The current goal is to continue to increase strength. For example, keep working hard to master the two-color hockey as soon as possible. Thinking like this, Yang Hao thought for a while and started simulating again. As for the current weak state, there is no need to worry. With his physical condition, he will probably be able to recover soon. And while Yang Hao continued to simulate, on the other side, the practice room. A large number of people rushed here. What happened? Who is causing trouble in the palace? The round figure at the head started shouting and cursing before he came. Baby Five's head shrank, a little scared. Torble. Yes, the leader is none other than Torble, one of the top cadres of Don Quixote. Because Yang Hao's turtle-style qigong just penetrated the surface, causing damage to the underground factory, causing a great commotion. Torble is responsible for the underground factory affairs, so he will come to inspect the situation. In addition, Diamante, Raoji and other cadres also appeared at the scene. Only then did Baby -5 understand the seriousness of the situation. But when she thought that this was Yang Hao's order, she became determined again. I'm sorry, I just cultivated my abilities and accidentally became like this. Baby -5 bit the bullet and explained to Torble and others. Torbol's face suddenly turned dark. Diamante and others also had dark looks on their faces. BABY5, didn't I tell you and Gladius not to practice in the palace? Torble looked at the messy scene and scolded Baby -5 angrily. Although the palace was built very solidly by them, it could not withstand intense torment. Therefore, the people in Don Quixote's secret service try their best not to allow them to practice in the palace. Especially Baby -5 and Gladius. Of course, when it comes to destructive power, the most terrifying one is Pika as the captain. However, Pika is still relatively disciplined, and after he destroys it, he will rebuild it. But Baby -5 is different from Gladius, they are all about destruction without construction. I will report this matter to Dover, and let him punish you then. After some criticism, everyone dispersed. Although the scene was indeed a bit miserable, as long as the enemy did not attack, the problem was not serious. Since Baby -5 is Doflamingo's maid, they didn't scold her too much and decided to let Doflamingo handle it. After they dispersed, Torble and Diamante left together. On the way, they talked about Doflamingo, and Diamante suddenly asked, by the way, where did Dove go? Torble Kaido. It's not because of Yang Hao that Dover took that blue ball and went to punk Hassad himself. Oh, you're looking for Caesar. Why are you looking for him? It's not just to produce the blue wave ball. You also know that it is not safe to produce here, and Dover also wants Caesar to see the effect of the blue wave ball. With these words, the two of them walked away completely. And this time, Punk Hassard not far from Dressrosa. The extreme environment of ice and fire has still not formed. Just desolate. In the desert, inside a huge research institute. Doflamingo picked up the coffee sent by Monet and glanced at a closed door not far away. That's where Caesar Current's research laboratory is located. As Torble said, Doflamingo did come to Punk Hassad's side. The reason is naturally to let Caesar Current study the blue ball. Now that he understands the meaning of blue wave ball, of course Doflamingo attaches great importance to it. Although he already knew the formula of the blue wave ball, he still took it to Caesar Current to study it. See if it really has the effect Yang Hao said, and see if there is any possibility of improvement. In fact, if you want to test the effect of the blue wave ball, Punk Haddad's side is also the most suitable place. All because there are a lot of people with artificial devil fruit abilities here. If mass production occurs in the future, it will be very convenient to slightly modify it here. Of course, what Doflamingo values most is privacy. Even Kaido doesn't know the location of this island. This is where Doflamingo is smart. Otherwise, if Kaido knows that Caesar Kulin is here, he will have no way to do business with Kaido. All because as long as Caesar Kulin is captured, Kaido himself can develop artificial devil fruits, so there is no need to do business with him or protect him. This is where Doflamingo feels uncomfortable. If you are not strong enough, you will always be restrained by others. If he is strong enough, he can become the four emperors. You can overthrow the world government by yourself. You can turn this world upside down by yourself. And all of this comes from strength. Just when Doflamingo's thoughts were confused, suddenly, the door of the research institute opened. There was a click. A figure surrounded by mist floated out. Monet looked over with beautiful eyes, and his eyes under Doflamingo's sunglasses were also condensed. There is no doubt that this figure is Caesar Current. Hearing Doflamingo's words, he responded directly with laughter. Boo, interesting, what an interesting invention. Joker. This thing is so interesting. Who invented it? Can you let me meet him? I feel like he will be of great use to my research. Hearing this, Doflamingo suddenly smiled. Royal Palace. Something unexpected happened to Yang Hao. As night fell, while Baby -5 was away, a graceful figure wearing a moderate-long dress quietly came to his room again. "What are you doing here?" Yang Hao was a little surprised when he looked at the charming face of the visitor. Violet didn't speak, but came to Yang Hao with a shy face. "The charming aroma comes to your nose." Yang Hao sighed, "It's really troublesome to be so handsome." But Yang Hao was even more surprised. "The next day I got a call from Doflamingo." "What? Let me go to Punk Hazard." Chapter 89 Double Happiness. Something unexpected happened to Yang Hao. It's okay if Violet comes looking for her again. But Doflamingo actually came to find him, and even asked him to go to Punk Hazard. That ice and fire island. Yang Hao was extremely surprised. It is worth mentioning, after previously developing a large number of 6-position extended strengthening techniques, Yang Hao didn't have much money left on hand, less than 100 million. But he still hasn't mastered the two-color domineering force. Although in Yang Hao's view, he is not far away from mastering the two-color domineering force. It's very possible that it's just the last step, but if he continued to simulate like before, Yang Hao felt that he was not very sure. So after some thought, he decided to refer to Luffy's experience in practicing hockey. In the original book, Luffy was placed on an island full of large ferocious beasts by Rayleigh when he was practicing hockey. Would this method be better than asking Rao Ji for advice and sparring with Rao Ji? Yang Hao feels that the efficiency should be higher. After all, Rayleigh's achievements are much higher than Rao Ji. Of course, compared to Teacher Kai, Rayleigh is much inferior, and is even suspected of being a wrong disciple. But if you are just getting started with domineering, Rayleigh should still be able to do it. As for Rao Ji, it's not that he's not qualified to teach the introduction to domineering, but his method may not be suitable for someone with poor talent like Yang Hao. In fact, after several simulations, Rao Ji had nothing to teach Yang Hao about domineering. His only role was as a sparring partner. But judging from the simulation experience, Rao Ji also failed somewhat as a sparring partner. I don't know if it was because of the Blue Wave project that Rao Ji didn't seem to dare to deal a serious blow to him. In short, when sparring with him, the progress of domineering is very slow. Now that there is not much money, Yang Hao has to consider another method. For example, the way Rayleigh teaches Luffy. If he doesn't know, forget it. But now that I have a reference, I can definitely give it a try. The most important thing is that this kind of cultivation method is not difficult to imitate. Yang Hao can definitely find a ferocious beast island to implement. The best thing is that he has also mastered flying methods such as Wukongshu. When crossing the sea, his dependence on ships has been greatly reduced. If the distance is not far, you can fly there by yourself. Of course, it doesn't seem to matter even if the distance is too far, because in the simulation, it doesn't matter even if he consumes too much. With this idea in mind, Yang Hao naturally started to implement it in the next simulation. And this also led to him knowing nothing about what happened next in Dressrosa. Of course, Yang Hao didn't pay too much attention. As his strength further increases, he doesn't need to be too cautious on Don Quixote's side. Even if he really fell out with Doflamingo, he was confident that he could escape directly. And this was the reason why Yang Hao was so surprised at this time. In reality, Doflamingo actually found him and asked him to go to Ice and Fire Island. Although there was not much said in the phone call, it did not prevent Yang Hao from making assumptions. So, Doflamingo really gave the blue ball to Caesar Curran. Then come to me now, is Caesar Curran's intention. Yang Hao murmured, his eyes flickering. He subconsciously activated his mind enhancement and turned into a big-headed ape. Although this situation was beyond his expectation, Yang Hao did not panic. It wasn't because he had any guesses about it. It's because, compared to before, Yang Hao has become stronger again. Perhaps Yang Hao had missed the mark before, or maybe, Rayleigh's method of teaching Luffy is really effective. On that ferocious beast island, you fight blindfolded, surrounded by ferocious beasts all day long, fighting and fighting crazily. Finally, he really mastered the two-color domination. After mastering the two-color hegemony, although it has not been truly tested, Yang Hao feels that his power has most likely reached the standards of 7 warlords of the sea. Of course, there are high and low levels in Shichibukai. But compared to Doflamingo, Yang Hao feels that he is fully capable of competing. In this way, Yang Hao naturally became more confident. Even if Doflamingo wanted to deal with him this time and called him over, he was not afraid at all. Of course, this possibility is still extremely small. If Doflamingo really wants to deal with him, there is no need to go to such trouble. It would be more convenient to kill him directly in Dressrosa. After all, this is Don Quixote's headquarters. So this time Doflamingo called him over. It was most likely what he thought. It was related to Caesar Curran. Or simply it means Caesar Curran. Thinking of this, Yang Hao couldn't help but be a little surprised. In fact, before he joined Don Quixote, he was thinking about how to get close to Caesar Curran. It's a pity that until now, he hasn't thought of a good way. The original plan was to use the excuse of studying Rambo balls to get closer to Caesar Curran. But this method cannot be proposed too quickly. When Yang Hao thought about it, even if he had to use this excuse, he would at least have to stay at Don Quixote for a while and initially gain Doflamingo's trust. But what he never expected was that Doflamingo took the initiative to let him pass before he even opened his mouth. This is really an unexpected surprise. It just so happens that I have spent all my money. When I go to Ice and Fire Island, I may be able to defraud Caesar Current, or simply ask Doflamingo for research funds. The more he thought about it, the brighter his eyes became. If you think about it carefully, this is simply a pillow for sleepiness. He originally planned to get close to Caesar Current, but now that Doflamingo takes the initiative, it is naturally the best. In addition, Doflamingo said before that if the research funds are not enough, you can ask him again. Originally, Yang Hao didn't have a good reason to speak, but it's different now. When I go there, I guess I can just find an excuse. With the endorsement of Caesar Current, I believe Doflamingo will be as generous as before. Wanting to understand this, on the day he received Doflamingo's call, Yang Hao couldn't wait to take baby -5 and rushed to Punk Hassad. This time, Yang Hao directly used the Wukong technique to rush on his way. After taking baby -5 and flying away from Punk Hassad, Yang Hao was ready to stop and rest from time to time. After all, the high-speed flying skill of Wukongshu is not sustainable yet. But what surprised Yang Hao next, after flying for a long time, he didn't even feel tired. Hey, why did it last so long this time? Yang Hao was a little surprised. What's going on? Silently feeling his physical condition, his face looked thoughtful. After a while, Yang Hao finally had some idea. Chapter 90 Spiritual Energy? The evil dragon is attacking. Huh. A biting wind blew in my face. Yang Hao took baby -5 and flew in midair. BABY5 was very excited. Yang Hao, you are so awesome. You can actually fly, and your speed is much faster than Buffalo. Compared with you, he looks like a turtle. When Yang Hao heard this, he frowned and pondered. His mind at this time was all about his physical condition. In Yang Hao's opinion, after he performed the Wukong technique, he would feel tired soon. But now, half a day has passed, and I still feel nothing. What's going on? Yang Hao thought for a moment and then had an idea. In fact, although Yang Hao created his own turtle-style Qigong and Wukong technique, he still attributed the two to trump cards such as heart strengthening and monster strengthening. It is easy not to use it. This time, I was too excited, so I subconsciously used Wukong technique. Of course, Yang Hao was ready to stop as soon as he felt a little uncomfortable and switched to moonwalk. Using moonwalk to fly will still consume a lot of physical energy, but it is definitely better than using dancing in the sky. After all, the Wukong technique consumed most of Yang Hao's energy. If you consume it in large quantities, it is very likely to shorten your lifespan. Although Yang Hao is still very young now, he still needs to pay attention to this aspect. But what he didn't expect was that after flying for a long time, he didn't feel tired at all. Yang Hao was very surprised by this, but after thinking about it carefully, he understood a little bit. The reason is simple. His body has become stronger again. In every simulation, Yang Hao did not stop strengthening his stomach and intestines, just more or less. But accumulated year by month, his current physical condition is also terrible. It is estimated that even someone like Rob Lucci cannot compare with him. Doflamingo had previously felt that Yang Hao's physique was almost comparable to that of the ancient mammoth fruit planter, Drought, Jack. But now, it is definitely comparable. As your body becomes stronger, your energy and spirit will naturally increase accordingly. Therefore, the consumption of Wukong technique seems to have decreased. In addition, Yang Hao felt that there should be another reason why he mastered domineering. Domineering, is it also a kind of anger? In other words, domineering is actually a manifestation of spiritual power. Mastering domineering means that Yang Hao's spiritual energy has been further improved. In this way, it will naturally be easier to perform Wukong technique. Thinking of this, Yang Hao couldn't help but his eyes lit up. He felt that this statement was very possible. As we all know, among the powerful domineering people in the pirate world, except for the pervert Garp, most people will lose their domineering power as they get older. What is the principle of this? Originally, Yang Hao wasn't too sure. But if you think of hockey as a power like energy and spirit, it makes sense. As people get older, won't their vitality and energy weaken? In this case, as my dominance becomes stronger in the future, Wukong technique and even turtle-style Qigong will become routine. Thinking of this, Yang Hao couldn't help but get excited. There is no doubt that this is another unexpected surprise. Of course, Yang Hao knew that the reason for the reduced consumption now was probably due to the Wukong technique itself. The reason why Yang Hao felt very tired before was because he used turtle-style Qigong and Wukong technique one after another. But if you think about it carefully, there should be a difference in consumption between the two. Obviously, the consumption of turtle school Qigong will be even greater. As for the Wukong technique, although there are quite a few, relatively speaking, there should be much less. Therefore, after Yang Hao's physique and domineering strength became stronger, it was no longer so difficult to perform the Wukong technique. So, where is the limit? Yang Hao suddenly had the desire to experiment. With this idea, he simply did not stop the Wukong technique, but continued to fly towards Punk Hassad. Next, what made Yang Hao even more excited was that he maintained the Wukong technique for another hour before feeling tired, coming. With his previous experience, Yang Hao naturally quickly stopped Wukong and switched to moonwalk. Even so, Yang Hao couldn't help but smile on his face. It is just around the corner that Wukong's Shu will become routine. And when Wukong technique becomes routine, turtle-style Qigong will probably no longer be a forbidden trick. It will still be no problem if you use it occasionally. When he thought of this, Yang Hao's mood suddenly brightened. He wasn't even that happy to have mastered the two-color domineering force. However, he was extremely excited due to the progress made in turtle-style Qigong and Wukong technique. Of course, this is normal. After all, the two-color domineering force cannot let his power break through the sky. But turtle-style Qigong is different from Wukong technique. Especially turtle-style Qigong. After it becomes routine in the future, can he really use this to blow up the moon? That scene is probably even more amazing than Fujitora summoning a meteorite. The corners of Yang Hao's mouth curled up slightly. Then he looked into the distance and began to calculate the distance in his mind. Dressrosa is actually not far from Punk Hassad. He has been flying for so long, he should have arrived, right? Sure enough. The next moment, the outline of the island suddenly appeared in the distance. Baby 5, who was holding a recording indicator, shouted happily, "We are here, that is Punk Hassad." Yang Hao nodded and smiled. Just as he was about to say something, his expression suddenly changed. After arriving here, he subconsciously opened his domineering spirit. As a result, at this moment, a sense of danger was sensed by his sight. "What is that?" Almost at the same time, Baby -5 also exclaimed. "I saw a large shadow suddenly appearing in the outline of the island in front of me." The shadow rose into the sky and flew toward them. Yang Hao's face darkened slightly, and he immediately noticed the clues after seeing Sei Baki. That dangerous feeling comes from that shadow. Upon noticing this, Yang Hao didn't say anything and immediately thought about it. Eyes strengthened. His originally big eyes suddenly swelled up again, looking extremely strange. In this state, Yang Hao's vision was greatly enhanced, and he could see the true face of the shadow clearly. "Is it? Soon?" Yang Hao made a cry of surprise. "I saw that shadow. It was a huge fiery red beast like a hill. Blocking out the sky and the sun, extremely vicious. It has 2 wings, a belly as big as an elephant, and its claws are sharp and ferocious. It was a western fire dragon as big as a mountain." After seeing the fire dragon's appearance clearly, Yang Hao had a strange look on his face. "Isn't this the fire dragon from Punk Hassad?" Immediately afterwards, Baby -5 also saw the appearance of the fire dragon clearly, and his face instantly became horrified. What kind of monster is that? Although she knew about the existence of Punk Hassad, she didn't know that there was such a terrifying monster hidden here. But before Baby -5 could react, the fire dragon was flying close. The bloody mouth opened wide, and a violent burst of flames burst out. Boom! The huge flames instantly enveloped Yang Hao and Baby-5, Chapter 91 War Fire Dragon. Boom! The huge flames emitted by the fire dragon directly enveloped Yang Hao and Baby-5. There was another loud noise and the flames exploded. The situation inside was revealed. Yang Hao and Baby-5 were not shot down, but were still suspended in the air. Not only that, the 2 of them were still unscathed. Needless to say, Baby 5, as a weapon fruit user, she naturally possesses a defense comparable to steel. Especially fire resistance, almost maxed out. As for Yang Hao, it goes without saying. His diamond is indestructible and much harder than real steel. Of course, because it is hair, the fire resistance will be weak. But with the blessing of armed domineering, it's different. His current King Kong is indestructible and can be said to be truly invulnerable to water and fire. Although the fire dragon's flames were stronger than ordinary flames, it was still difficult to hurt him. Under attack, Baby -5 turned from frightened to furious. Where did the monster come from? Let me die. As soon as the words fell, Baby 5's bulging body suddenly transformed into a cold and huge missile, leaving Yang Hao's arms and rushing towards the fire dragon. Boom! Another explosion rose in midair. An astonishing ball of flame energy enveloped most of the fire dragon's head. However, compared to defense and fire resistance, Fire Dragon is even worse than Baby-5. Ever since, after the explosion, Baby 5, who had returned to human form, landed on the huge neck of the fire dragon, staring at the unharmed opponent in shock. How is that possible? When Yang Hao saw this, he was not surprised. With Baby 5's current strength, it is still difficult to hurt this fire dragon. Unless, Baby -5 masters armament hockey. Wrong. Even if you master the armed color hockey, it's not that easy to hurt this fire dragon. Yang Hao squinted his eyes and thought of the Straw Hats who first arrived on Ice and Fire Island in the original novel. Even Luffy, Zoro and others suffered a lot when they first faced the fire dragon. And next, as if to confirm Yang Hao's thoughts, Baby -5 turned into a machete again and landed on the fire dragon's neck. But apart from exploding a series of sparks, it has no effect. Baby-5 was dumbfounded. As a result, at this moment, the fire dragon began to fight back. Buzz! 2 huge wings flapped, and a strong wind suddenly emerged. Ah! Baby -5 was caught off guard and fell directly from the fire dragon. Immediately afterwards, the fire dragon showed an astonishing speed. Its huge body like a mountain suddenly turned around, its huge bloody mouth opened, and it ate towards Baby -5 all at once. Ah! Baby -5 was so shocked that his face turned pale. She still underestimated the enemy a little, so that she was suddenly in danger. A strong fishy smell hit his face, and Baby 5's beautiful eyes showed fear. Her defense is indeed strong, but at this moment, in the fire dragon's open mouth, the teeth are as sharp as swords, and it is so cold and terrifying. Seeing that Baby -5 was about to be buried in the dragon's mouth, suddenly, the airflow surged. Dance technique. At the critical moment, Yang Hao suddenly took action. He suddenly turned into a phantom, flew out, and took Baby -5 away before the fire dragon's mouth closed. A hissing sound. Suddenly far away, Yang Hao. Upon discovering that he was out of danger, Baby -5 immediately relaxed, and then looked at Yang Hao gratefully. Yang Hao held Baby -5 and stared at the fire dragon, his eyes flickering. Obviously, the current situation of being attacked by the fire dragon was beyond his expectation. After all, he didn't conduct any simulation before coming here. Generally speaking, Yang Hao would take the initiative to retreat from such an accident. But these days are different. As his strength continued to increase, Yang Hao's confidence also improved a lot. When your strength is weak, you really need to be cautious. But with great power, it is natural to change the way you act. It is safe to pretend to be a pig and eat the tiger, but if you pretend too much, you will really become a pig. Of course, it's not that Yang Hao is careless, it's just that he urgently needs a battle. In the simulation, his opponent has always been Raoji. In addition, it is those large ferocious beasts. Needless to say, those ferocious beasts behind Raoji were far from his opponents. This also resulted in Yang Hao being able to only make rough guesses about his current strength. And now, the fire dragon, Vegapunk's terrifying pet, is obviously a good opponent for Yang Hao to verify his strength. This fire dragon is indeed very powerful, but for him at this time, it is obviously manageable. Thinking of this, Yang Hao's eyes were filled with fighting spirit. With your current strength, you can't deal with it, just stay aside and watch my performance. Saying this, Yang Hao held Baby -5 and flew straight to Punk Hassad. The fire dragon wanted to chase them, but was thrown away. Whoosh! In the blink of an eye, Yang Hao took Baby -5 to Punk Hassad. As soon as he put down Baby-5, a hot breath came from behind Yang Hao. Obviously, although the fire dragon was thrown away, it also chased after him. Yang Hao narrowed his eyes and turned around suddenly. His tail became thick and stuck to the ground. Then Yang Hao's legs suddenly became thicker, like 2 elephant legs. Invincible Hot Wheels. Yang Hao shouted low, and his thick legs suddenly turned into a circle of phantoms. At this moment, dense green light rushed out. The extremely sharp sound of breaking through the air suddenly overwhelmed the roar of the flames. Immediately afterwards, under the shocked gaze of Baby-5, a huge green light surged upstream like a torrent. Boom! There was a roar. Judging from the scene, it is obvious that the flames erupted by the fire dragon are more magnificent. At first glance, it seems as if half the sky is shrouded in red light. The area of Yang Hao's attack was only 1/3 of the size of the flames. However, after the two collided, the flames that filled the sky suddenly stopped. Amidst the roar, like a hot knife cutting butter, the green light instantly submerged into the flames. The dark red flame was dyed pitch black in the blink of an eye, and then Saiyan took over. From Baby 5's perspective, the flames all over the sky were separated by a blue light that looked like a sword from the sky. Boom! After penetrating the flames, the green light suddenly poured on the fire dragon's huge head. The seemingly indestructible dragon head actually showed slash marks. It was very small at first, but it accumulated in the blink of an eye, and the huge dragon head was tilted greatly. The huge fire dragon as huge as a mountain was suppressed by Yang Hao. Baby 5's beautiful eyes widened, at the same time. When Yang Hao was fighting the fire dragon, inside Punk Hassad's research institute, Doflamingo and Caesar Current were chatting, but suddenly, Monet came over in a hurry. Young Master, Doflamingo and Caesar Current followed the sound. As a result, Monet reported a piece of news that made their expressions change slightly. Young Master, the fire dragon suddenly rioted and flew out of the island. What? Hearing this, both of them were startled. Chapter 92 Tyrant Iron Ape King's Spear, Roasted Fire Dragon. Boom boom boom. The huge and dense torrent of Lanjiao directly bent the fire dragon's head. Even a corner of the opponent's head was cut open slowly and quickly. However, the fire dragon's defense cannot be underestimated after all, and it still resisted tenaciously. Yang Hao chuckled lightly when he saw this. Oh, it's really hard. As soon as he finished speaking, he took a step forward, cast Moonwalk, and headed towards the fire dragon. Without the suppression of Lanjiao, the fire dragon straightened its head again. Seeing Yang Hao flying towards him, without any hesitation, he opened his bloody mouth and swallowed him away. A strong fishy smell spread across the floor. Yang Hao raised his eyebrows and shouted lowly. King Kong is indestructible. His figure suddenly expanded, and his fur seemed to explode and become densely woven. The iron mass stirred. A layer of pitch-black aura is attached to the body surface. There is no doubt that it is the domineering look of armed color. At this moment, the fire dragon's sharp teeth closed and bit Yang Hao's body. However, those sharp sword-like teeth did not bite Yang Hao's body to bits, but instead got stuck there. There was a look of astonishment in the fire dragon's eyes. It bit Yang Hao into its mouth unwillingly, and when it found that it still couldn't bite, it spit out Yang Hao. Haha, you are still very smart, you didn't swallow me into your stomach. Yang Hao chuckled, his figure moved in midair and flew towards the fire dragon again. If the fire dragon swallowed him, he would probably kill him in an instant. After all, the fire dragon's strong defense does not mean that its body is also indestructible. However, this situation is exactly what Yang Hao wants. Because in his opinion, there is no need to use tricks at all to deal with this fire dragon. Boom! The fire dragon opened its bloody mouth again, and with a strong breath of flame dragon breath, it came towards Yang Hao. Yang Hao narrowed his eyes and suddenly increased his speed. Dancing technique. With a whoosh, he flew away from the place, avoiding the flames. Yang Hao suddenly discovered that moonwalk was still a bit slow when used in combat. Wukongshu is different. Not only is it fast, but it is also extremely flexible. Of course, the consumption is also very large, but if it's just a battle, there shouldn't be any problem. Yang Hao didn't think that he would be in a stalemate with the fire dragon for too long. Thinking of this, Yang Hao simply maintained his air dance technique and flew at high speed next to the fire dragon. In this way, it seems that Yang Hao is bullying others. Because after activating the Wukong technique, the fire dragon couldn't keep up with Yang Hao's speed. Its huge body was spinning around in circles, but even Yang Haoyi and Kakuzu couldn't see it. Of course, this is also due to the domineering power of knowledge. Every move of the fire dragon has been predicted by Yang Hao. Unless its senses are stronger than those of seeing and hearing, and can predict Yang Hao's predictions. But obviously, that's impossible. Just like this, Yang Hao, who had been walking around the fire dragon for several times, suddenly landed on the fire dragon's body quietly. Call. Taking a deep breath, Yang Hao's right fist suddenly became larger. The iron block is activated, making the huge fist look as strong as a giant hammer. Immediately afterwards, the unique black color of the armed color was rendered on it, making Yang Hao's right fist seem to be made of real iron. This is the Iron Block Ape King gun, but after becoming armed and domineering, Yang Hao changed his name. The Tyrant Iron Ape King Spear, Yang Hao struck hard. The air surged, and the terrifying fist force exploded on the fire dragon's body. Boom! Accompanied by a roar. Baby -5 below suddenly widened her beautiful eyes. She was shocked to see the huge fire dragon that looked like a hill suddenly falling from the midair as if it had been hit hard. Rumble. The huge fire dragon fell like a meteorite, and instantly there was an astonishing explosion. Strong vibrations spread along with the spread of smoke and dust. So strong, Baby -5 exclaimed. The monster she had no control over was like a toy in Yang Hao's hands. Looking at the golden ape figure in midair, Baby -5 didn't know which one of the two was the monster for a moment. However, the fire dragon's vitality is indeed tenacious. After receiving such a heavy blow from Yang Hao, he was not dead yet and was still flopping on the ground. When Yang Hao saw this, the corners of his mouth curled up slightly. When the power is extremely strong, there is nothing that cannot be solved with one punch. If one punch doesn't work, then use two punches. Thinking of this, the air current under Yang Hao's feet stirred up, and the Wukong technique was activated again, making him fall towards the fire dragon like a shooting star. Packed with powerful kinetic energy, this shot of the Tyrant Iron Ape King's spear is even more powerful. Boom! The next second, the entire island was shaken. Other side. Inside the huge research institute, Monet reported the fire dragon uprising to Doflamingo and Cesar Current. Both of their expressions changed slightly. Caesar Kulang's face darkened. Huh, that guy from Vegapunk. Even if he is a pet left behind, he will not live in peace. Caesar Current naturally knew about the fire dragon. This is an artificial creature created by Vegapunk to guard Punkassad. I don't know what the guy from Vegapunk was thinking, but he didn't take him with him when he left. This also led to the fact that when Caesar Current quietly moved back, he suffered a lot from the fire dragon. This is all because the fire dragon's duty is to protect Punkassad, and any unknown person approaching will be attacked by it. Unless Vegapunk's instructions are obtained. Of course, it wasn't that Caesar Current couldn't deal with the fire dragon, he just wanted to stay and study it when he was free in the future. This kind of artificial creature actually has its own agenda. Similarly, Doflamingo also knew something about the fire dragon. He frowned and asked in confusion, did someone land on the island? Although the fire dragon usually flies around the island, it is relatively stable. Now they are rioting and flying outside the island. So, who appeared and caused it to start performing its duties? Hearing Doflamingo's words, Monet suddenly said, by the way, young master, half a day ago Uncle Raoji said that Yang Hao and Baby -5 had already set off. Could it be them? What? Upon hearing this, Doflamingo's pupils suddenly shrank. The next second he disappeared from the spot and rushed outside. Caesar Current and Monet looked at each other, realized the seriousness of the problem, and followed them one after another. The three of them quickly left the research institute. What made the Doflamingo trio look heavy was that as soon as they arrived at the research institute, they felt a strong shock. The direction of the vibration seemed to be exactly where the fire dragon flew just now. Caesar Coolant couldn't help but murmur, could it be that Yang Hao was killed by the fire dragon? The leader Doflamingo's face was as dark as water. He is very aware of Baby Five's strength and is no match for the fire dragon. As for Yang Hao, although he defeated Rao Ji, he did not master the two-color domineering force and should not be able to defeat the fire dragon. In fact, even if an ordinary person has initially mastered the two-color domineering force, it is unlikely that he can beat that fire dragon. Thinking of this, Doflamingo couldn't help but become worried. Within a short while, the three people rushed to the scene. Just as they thought, the fire dragon riot was really caused by the arrival of Yang Hao and BABY5. However, what they never expected was that Yang Hao and Baby-5 did not die, but the fire dragon died. There was even the smell of barbecue coming from the scene. The fire dragon was actually made into barbecue. Seeing such a situation, the three of them were stunned. Chapter 93 Seeing each other. At this time, Doflamingo and the other three were stunned. They were also worried that Yang Hao and Baby-5 were in danger. But what they never expected was that Yang Hao and Baby-5 actually killed the fire dragon and even roasted it and ate it. Caesar Current, who planned to use the fire dragon for research, suddenly turned dark. Doflamingo couldn't recover for a while. As for Monet, he looked at Yang Hao in surprise. In the past few days, she had heard a lot about Yang Hao. This is the first time I see him in person. I didn't expect that the opponent nicknamed, the Fierce Ape, would be so handsome. The most important thing is that his power is actually stronger than the fire dragon. Monet also knows the strength of BABY5, so the current situation is obvious. It was Yang Hao who killed the fire dragon. Even if you defeat Rao Ji, you can actually kill this terrifying fire dragon. Monet's beautiful eyes were filled with surprise. Young master, Monet, this dragon meat is delicious, you should try it too. When Baby-5 saw Doflamingo and others coming, he immediately smiled and said hello. Yang Hao also waved with a smile on his face, without any ferocity in killing the fire dragon. He looks like a harmless pretty boy. However, Doflamingo suddenly realized that he seemed to be unable to see through the guy in front of him with the nickname, Vicious Ape. Previously, he took the initiative as a Baby-5 man and defeated Rao Ji, and gave him something as significant as a blue wave ball. It turned out that Doflamingo really valued Yang Hao. But now he found that he seemed to underestimate Yang Hao. He didn't know the existence of the simulation system, so he subconsciously thought that Yang Hao was still clumsy when he fought against Rao Ji. Otherwise, he would not be able to kill the fire dragon unscathed. You know, even if Doflamingo himself wants to deal with the fire dragon, it will take some effort. But now, Yang Hao seems to have done it very easily. Does this mean that his power has already caught up with his own, and is even comparable to his own? Thinking of this, Doflamingo's eyes under his sunglasses narrowed slightly. Yang Hao was not surprised by Doflamingo's reaction. Even without the simulation, he could probably guess what Doflamingo was thinking. In fact, if you think about it from another perspective, if a person suddenly appeared in the power that Yang Hao established, and his power was chasing him but he was willing to be his younger brother, Yang Hao would also feel uncomfortable. There may even be some suspicion, but these don't matter anymore. Again, Yang Hao now has the confidence to fall out with Doflamingo. Even if he really fell out, it didn't matter to him. Of course, if possible, he still wants to maintain harmony with Doflamingo. After all, the other party is now his god of wealth. As a result, Yang Hao also smiled and said, Young master, I haven't seen you for a few days and I miss you so much. This dragon meat tastes really good. You should try it too. After killing the fire dragon, Yang Hao naturally did not waste it and immediately used the dragon meat to strengthen his intestines and stomach. Yang Hao had already expected the taste of dragon meat. What surprised him was that the flesh and blood of this fire dragon was more effective than the flesh of ordinary sea beasts. This was an unexpected surprise. It is worth mentioning that in these simulations, although Yang Hao's physique has been continuously enhanced due to exercise and gastrointestinal strengthening, the effect has actually become less and less. As for the reason, Yang Hao also understood. It's because his body has become stronger to a certain extent. Give a very simple example. If Yang Hao's physical strength is 10, then even if it increases by 1, it is still too little. But if Yang Hao's physical strength reaches 100 or even 1000, then adding another point of physical strength will naturally seem insignificant. When the body is strong to a certain extent, various effects will naturally be weakened, including strengthening the gastrointestinal tract. But now, after eating dragon meat, Yang Hao's feeling of enhanced physical strength has become a little more obvious. Realizing this, Yang Hao naturally used his gastrointestinal enhancement to feast on the food. However, the fire dragon was too big, and Yang Hao couldn't eat that much for a while. But when faced with the invitations from Yang Hao and BABY5, Doflamingo and Monet shook their heads and refused. They are not greedy for this stuff. On the other hand, Caesar Current, after hesitating for a moment, also picked up a piece of dragon meat and put it into his mouth. Hey, it's delicious. Soon, Caesar Current's eyes lit up. His dissatisfaction with Yang Hao suddenly disappeared. Haha, that guy from Vegapunk would be very angry if he knew that this fire dragon was eaten by me. As a mad scientist, Caesar Current is actually also known as a genius. But all this changed with the debut of Vegapunk. In the eyes of the world, Vegapunk is the truly talented scientist. And he only deserves the word, crazy. Caesar Current was naturally very dissatisfied with this and tried every means to prove himself. Originally, he wanted to study something from the fire dragon. But now he suddenly thought that even if he learned something from studying fire dragons, so what? Why don't you just follow Vegapunk's *? He doesn't want to. It was precisely because of this idea that he planned the poison gas leak incident a few years ago, tricked Vegapunk, and parted ways with him. We can't go down this road now. Thinking about it this way, eating Vegapunk's pet fire dragon directly seems to be a good thing. With this idea, Caesar Current's gaze towards Yang Hao became more pleasing to the eye. However, what Caesar Current didn't know was that he had actually been following Vegapunk's old path. Artificial devil fruit, that's it. As for artificial devil fruit technology, Vegapunk has actually successfully researched it a long time ago, but just kept it secret. Momonosuke's peach dragon fruit ability is the best proof. Of course, this success is actually considered a failure in Vegapunk's eyes. Because he didn't perfectly reproduce the color of Qinglong's panel. This is probably the Versailles of genius. In general, compared to scientific ability, Caesar Current is far inferior to Vegapunk. However, Yang Hao didn't mind this at all, just like he did before approaching Doflamingo. Who doesn't know that the blue wave ball is more valuable to Kaido? If the blue wave ball is dedicated to Kaido, the harvest should be even greater. But the problem is that at that time, he did not have this channel. And now, it's the same. Of course he understands that Vegapunk is much stronger than Caesar Current, but he is the only famous scientist he has access to right now. Thinking of this, Yang Hao looked at Caesar Current with a smile. These two people are right, they are in love with each other. Chapter 94 Caesar Current's Excitement. 094 Caesar Current's excitement inside the huge research room. Yang Hao and others returned here. Monet went to serve tea and water again, and Baby-5 went to help. Yang Hao, Doflamingo, and Caesar Current were sitting in the hall talking. Mainly Yang Hao and Caesar Current were talking. After all, Doflamingo is the boss and is only responsible for paying. Moreover, he could not get involved in these scientific inventions. Of course, Yang Hao did not completely talk about science and creation with Caesar Current. During this period, he often praised him. This was naturally done intentionally by Yang Hao. Familiar with Caesar Current's character, he knows how to please the other party. Ever since, Caesar Current soon looked like he was having a great time chatting with Yang Hao. Monet next to him was even more surprised. She discovered that this young man, Yamato, was not only powerful but also had invention skills, and he was also very good at dealing with people. Caesar Current is actually a very hypocritical person. When facing his subordinates, he will appear kind and approachable. But in fact, it's all pretend. But now, Monet discovered that Caesar Current seemed to be smiling sincerely. The eyes that looked at Yang Hao showed appreciation and joy from time to time. This is when you meet someone who is of the same mind. BABY5 was also surprised by this situation. Although this was the first time she saw Caesar Current, she had heard many of his names. Especially the so-called mad scientists. According to Baby5's judgment, the so-called mad scientist should be ugly and vicious. But now, in front of Yang Hao, Caesar Current was talkative and cheerful. When he was praised, he showed a little shyness, not to mention how kind he was. However, what Baby-5 doesn't know is that this is all due to Yang Hao. All because his blue wave ball is indeed very useful to Caesar Current. Under this premise, Yang Hao catered to the other party's personality, praised him from time to time and even showed admiration, which naturally won the favor of Caesar Current. Caesar Current really liked Yang Hao more and more. After all, in the past in the scientific team, he was always outnumbered by Vegapunk, and other scientists were not weaker than him. Caesar Current like that has a very low sense of existence. But now, in modern terms, Yang Hao has provided him with sufficient emotional value. Another thing, Yang Hao is not a layman's praise. He who can research the blue ball can actually be regarded as a scientist, and he is also an outstanding scientist. Gaining such respect from Yang Hao will naturally make Caesar Current more useful. What Doflamingo and others didn't know was that Yang Hao was actually even more excited after the conversation. After talking to Caesar Current, he finally understood why Doflamingo asked him to come to Icefire Island. It turns out that it was really Caesar Current's idea. As for the reason, it is not just because the blue wave ball has epic making significance for the animal fruit ability. More importantly, the existence of the blue ball is also very useful for Caesar Current's two current studies. One of these two studies is the human body enlargement experiment, and the other one is an artificial devil fruit. Needless to say, there are huge experiments on the human body. This is something that many forces dream of. At present, the main sponsor is still the Four Emperors Ant. It's a pity that this project is also very evil. It was fiercely opposed by Vegapunk and only Caesar Current was working on it. In addition, the cycle is too long, so even if Caesar Current has developed a giant medicine, it still has little effect. As for the artificial devil fruit, Caesar Current also knew that it was flawed. Even without the peach dragon fruit as a comparison, you can still notice it. After all, the current artificial devil fruits not only have the possibility of failure, but even if they succeed, they will be directly fixed and cannot change freely like normal animal fruit ability users. And its power is also terrible. Such artificial devil fruit is definitely not a success. But Kaido doesn't know what he thinks, but he is actually able to accept such an artificial devil fruit. Of course, to be more serious, this artificial devil fruit will indeed make ordinary people stronger than ordinary people. Kaido's batch customization is barely acceptable. In comparison, it is relatively easy to use artificial devil fruits to train subordinates. However, in the eyes of scientists like Caesar Current, the current artificial devil fruits are completely unqualified. Not only is the ability weak, but it also only has animal series. Of course, Caesar Current has also been conducting research. But this kind of thing cannot be studied just because it is said to be studied. Doflamingo didn't seem to pay too much attention to this project. Maybe he didn't want to really help Kaido grow, so after Caesar Current studied it to a certain extent, Doflamingo stopped it. According to Doflamingo, he can continue research, but there is no need to add new research results to the current artificial devil fruits. To put it simply, the artificial devil fruit just needs to maintain its current effect. Of course, if possible, Caesar Current is still very willing to thoroughly research the artificial devil fruit. All because this is a technology that even Vegapunk has not yet fully achieved. If he can succeed, wouldn't it mean that he is better than Vegapunk? In view of this idea, although Doflamingo has stopped, Caesar Current has still been researching, but without a large amount of financial support, coupled with the current man-made technology, it has indeed entered a bottleneck, so Caesar Current has not made much progress. Originally, Caesar Current thought that this state would last for a long time, even measured in years. But the appearance of the blue ball gave Caesar Current a little more hope. After carefully studying the effect of the blue ball, Caesar Current felt greatly inspired. This was also the reason why he wanted to meet Yang Hao. But now that he has met Yang Hao and discussed research with him, and learned about Yang Hao's research concepts and ideas, Caesar Current suddenly felt that he had gained a lot. So, at the end of the conversation, Caesar Current looked directly at Doflamingo with bright eyes. "Joker, I want to apply for a research fund, about 200 million. Hearing this, Yang Hao suddenly smiled on his face. He didn't expect that Caesar Current was more eager than him. He didn't mention it himself, so he took the lead and asked Brother Ming for money. But it's not surprising if you think about it. Caesar Current probably has a kind of mentality that makes him happy. The inspiration he got from the blue wave ball made him eager to let go and do something big. In the opinion of Caesar Current, if the idea of the blue ball can be applied to human body enlargement experiments and artificial devil fruits, great progress can be made. However, when Doflamingo heard this, he responded like this: "Kaido, it's okay to provide funds, but they will only be used to research blue wave balls." Upon hearing this, Caesar Current's face fell. However, Yang Hao smiled secretly. This is just what he wanted. Chapter 95 Brother Ming's Concerns, Peach Dragon Fruit. Doflamingo is ready to return to Dressrosa. Monet sent him all the way. But on the way, Monet couldn't help but ask, "Young master, do you really want to sponsor me?" Doflamingo has promised to provide 200 million research funds to Caesar Current again. After returning this time, someone will send it over. But Monet knew that despite Doflamingo's wealth, in fact, the Don Quixote family was not very wealthy. After all, Doflamingo has too many relationships to deal with. It's not that simple to take both black and white. Let's not talk about other things. The current business with Auntie and Kaido is actually Doflamingo's backing. Especially artificial devil fruits. Could it be that Kaido really doesn't know the disadvantages of artificial devil fruits? Of course not. As a top animal-type fruit user, how could he not know how useless the current artificial devil fruits are? But the problem is, he still accepted it. Is it because Kaido has no brains? Of course not, mainly because it's cheap. Kaido spent almost no money on purchasing artificial devil fruits from Doflamingo, just sending a batch of sea tower stones. Why doesn't he do this kind of business? As for the experiments on human enlargement, Auntie did not provide much funding. Unless the research is really successful. Otherwise, how could these four Emperors-level beings allow Doflamingo to take advantage? All in all, managing relationships costs Doflamingo a lot of money every year. There is also the issue of cadre's remuneration. The treatment of each cadre is far better than that of other forces, which naturally leads to Doflamingo spending more money. Therefore, although Doflamingo's business is quite profitable, it's hard to say how rich he is. As far as Monet knows, Doflamingo has already given Yang Hao 300 million for this blue ball. Unexpectedly, Doflamingo now provides another 200 million for this blue wave ball project. 500 million belly were smashed down before and after. Does the young master really value this blue wave ball so much? In Monet's opinion, it would be better to put the money in Kaido's poison gas experiment. If the research is successful, they can be sold to kingdoms at war, and they will definitely make a lot of money. This is a profitable business. As for the blue wave ball, in fact, Monet is not unaware of its significance. But the problem is that even if Doflamingo is researched and applied, it will take more time and effort. All in all, this is a long-term investment, and it's an investment that won't pay off for a long time. Is it really worth it? Certainly, however, Doflamingo nodded without thinking. He sees further than Monet. I want to stand out in the new world without being suppressed by others. In the end it all comes down to strength. Now their Don Quixote seems to be prosperous, but in fact it is still full of crises. Moreover, Doflamingo had already had a premonition that the sea had been stable for a while. It will probably become confusing soon. Let's not talk about anything else. That guy Kaido is not a peaceful guy. The current Beast's pirates are complete with 3 disasters and 6 suns, top-notch weapons and equipment, and an increasing number of artificial devil fruit ability users. With such a team, how could Kaido, that war madman, not cause trouble? When chaos arises, not to mention Shichibukai, even the 4 emperors may be dismounted. Faced with this situation, Doflamingo must of course make longer-term plans. The blue wave ball is a very good layout tool. Just think about it. When the fight breaks out later, he will instantly bring out 100 or even 1,000 animal-type fruit users who can master multiple forms of transformation. What kind of power is this? If they also master the 2-color hockey, they will be an amazing backbone force. Doflamingo can even allow these animal-type fruit ability users to practice the 6 styles. By then, he will be equivalent to having his own CP department. Of course, all this must be based on the premise that the blue wave ball effect is more stable and stronger. So for this reason, Doflamingo feels that it doesn't matter how much money he spends. But before leaving, Doflamingo still warned, Monet, after I leave, you have to keep an eye on Yang Hao and Caesar, especially Yang Hao, observe his movements, and see if he has done serious research. In addition, the situation of the research please report to me at any time. Saying this, Doflamingo's eyes flashed. Monet immediately understood that Doflamingo still didn't trust Yang Hao. This is normal, after all, it has only been a few days since Yang Hao joined Don Quixote. Now that he has taken so much money and is still staying with Caesar Current, of course he must be careful. Finally, Doflamingo gave Monet a few more words, patted her on the shoulder, and flew away. Monet stared at Doflamingo's back with admiration in his eyes. And the other side. When Doflamingo left, Yang Hao and Baby -5 followed Caesar Current and began to visit the research institute. In fact, there is not much to see. After all, Yang Hao, who has read the original work, already has a full understanding of this research institute. Baby 5, on the other hand, sighed from time to time along the way. In order not to reveal his secret, Yang Hao naturally agreed and continued to praise Caesar Current appropriately. Under Yang Hao's deliberate flattery, his relationship with Caesar Current soon became extremely harmonious, and they even became brothers. At this time, I came to an empty room. Inside the room, there was a glass frame-like object, inside which was placed a fruit that looked like a devil fruit. Hey, is this a devil fruit? Baby -5 was confused. Yang Hao's eyes lit up. It was Yang Hao who suggested coming to visit the institute. But he knew the institute very well, so why did he make this request? The purpose is actually for the devil fruit that appears in front of you. To be more precise, it's an artificial devil fruit. That's right, what appeared in front of them at this time was an artificial devil fruit. But this artificial devil fruit is not the garbage made by Caesar Coolin, but a real artificial devil fruit made by Vegapunk. And this artificial devil fruit is undoubtedly the peach dragon fruit that Momonosuke ate. Seeing this fruit, Yang Hao couldn't help but get excited. Although he can no longer eat devil fruit, it does not mean that this fruit is useless to him. The most intuitive function is actually to sell it for money. You know, this is an artificial devil fruit that 100% replicates Qinglong's abilities. Its value can be imagined. It is estimated that even if the fruit of the operation is sold for 5 billion Baileys, it is no exaggeration. But now, such a treasure appears in front of Yang Hao, within reach. Chapter 96 Harvesting the Peach Dragon Fruit. What to do with the castle fruit. Next, as expected, Caesar Coolin introduced. This is also an artificial devil fruit, but it was left behind by the guy from Vegapunk. As for the reason why Caesar Current stayed on purpose, it was naturally not out of respect for Vegapunk. Just to have something to commemorate when I surpass Vegapunk. Hearing this, Baby -5 nodded and said nothing, but the smile at the corner of Yang Hao's mouth grew wider. Neither Caesar Current nor Doflamingo realized the value of this artificial devil fruit. In this case, no wonder Yang Hao missed it. If there were 5 billion, Yang Hao couldn't imagine how strong he would become. Even high-level hockey can be mastered, right? Of course, it's not that easy to sell this artificial devil fruit. First of all, we must expand publicity and launch an auction. Only in this way can we sell 5 billion or even more Baileys. But the question is, who has so much money? Would someone with so much money really be obedient to an auction? And if Kaido knew about the power of this artificial devil fruit, he probably wouldn't just sit idly by. Of course he would not allow anyone to obtain the same Azure Dragon ability as himself. If you cause trouble, you will definitely cause trouble. By then, even with the help of Doflamingo's power, it may not be possible to survive. Speaking of which, even the celestial dragons can't stop the leakage of top-quality fruits. A typical example is the Valley of the Gods incident. It was because of the appearance of several top-notch fruits in the Valley of the Gods that the Rock's pirates coveted them, and the Battle of the Valley of the Gods, which even future generations were taboo about, broke out. This shows the seriousness of auctioning top fruits. And it is impossible to rely on Doflamingo's power. After all, this devil fruit, strictly speaking, belongs to him. If Yang Hao blatantly put it up for auction, he would never agree. All in all, this artificial devil fruit is indeed extremely valuable, but it is very difficult to cash it in. Certainly, this does not affect Yang Hao's taking it as his own first. Thinking of this, Yang Hao deliberately showed a look of great interest. Brother Caesar, is this the artificial devil fruit you were talking about? I am also very interested in this thing. Can you give me this devil fruit? For you? Caesar Current obviously did not expect that Yang Hao would suddenly make this request. Why, can't you, the eldest brother, give your younger brother a greeting gift? Yang Hao smiled slightly. When Caesar Current heard this, he immediately shook his head. Of course not. If you like it, brother, then take it. Yang Hao said so naturally it was hard for him to refuse. Although he really wanted to keep it to commemorate his surpassing Vegapunk, but giving it to Yang Hao was nothing. Without knowing its value and ability, Caesar Current paid no attention to this artificial devil fruit. Otherwise, if he was secretly eaten by Momonosuke in the original work, he would have gone crazy. In this way, this priceless peach dragon fruit was easily obtained by Yang Hao. The process went so smoothly that no simulation was even needed. So much so that when Yang Hao actually held it in his hand, he was a little stunned. But he quickly came to his senses. To put it bluntly, it was because Caesar Current was deceived by Vegapunk and lacked knowledge of the ability of this artificial fruit. In addition, he deliberately wanted to please the other party, so it was no surprise that he was able to get this artificial devil fruit. Thinking like this, suppressing his excitement, Yang Hao turned over and put away the peach dragon fruit, and then took out another devil fruit. Square and with a steely color, it is none other than the castle fruit that Yang Hao obtained by killing Capone Becky before. Speaking of which, Yang Hao had already thought of a use for this castle fruit. It is also used to exchange money. If it could be exchanged for 1 billion or 80 million, even for the current Yang Hao, it would be able to increase his strength a lot. If the castle fruit is auctioned by Doflamingo, there will be no worries like the peach dragon fruit. Not only would Doflamingo not blame him, but he could also handle it. After all, its value is only about 1 billion, but when he came here, Yang Hao suddenly changed his mind. 1 billion Baileys, although to Yang Hao, is still a huge sum of money. But it's not that important anymore. The most important thing is that his strength has improved and there are many ways to make money. Even if the castle fruit is not sold, it will not be greatly affected. Of course, the most important thing is that Yang Hao has a second use for the castle fruit ability. That's for yourself. Of course, Yang Hao couldn't eat the second devil fruit. But can he transfer the power of the castle fruit to the items on his body? In fact, storage problems have always troubled Yang Hao. For example, if he wants to go to sea, it would be fine if there is a pirate ship. But without a pirate ship, it would be really troublesome. Because he not only had to carry Bailey, but also a lot of food. It would be difficult to carry a large amount of food, let alone a large amount of food. If this storage problem is not solved, even if Yang Hao has mastered the Wukong technique. But it will still be very troublesome when we really want to go somewhere far away in the future. In addition, it would actually be of great benefit to Yang Hao if he carried a large number of Baileys with him. For example, when he encounters a strong enemy in reality, he can completely simulate it on the spot. The benefits of doing so are self-evident. Take Kaido as an example. What if in reality, Yang Hao is suddenly attacked by Kaido without simulating it in advance? If you don't have money, you can only fight hard or run away. But if you have money, there is too much room for maneuver. Even if you escape, you can simulate a successful escape route in advance. And even if you fight hard, you can still simulate a weak fighter plane instead of dying without defense. To put it simply, if he could carry a large number of Baileys with him, it would be equivalent to having another life-saving trump card for Yang Hao. So Yang Hao suddenly thought that maybe he could use the castle fruit to create a storage bag with a universe inside it, similar to what is said in Cultivating Immortal Novels, or a space ring or something. Of course, Yang Hao does not have this technology. But Caesar Current clearly does. Like Vegapunk, he has also mastered the technology of devil fruit ability transplantation. His pet slime is the best proof. I just don't know if this devil fruit ability transplantation technology can be used on Paramecia's devil fruit ability. So at this time, after taking out the castle fruit, Yang Hao asks Caesar Current with great expectation. Brother Caesar, this is a paramecia devil fruit. You said before that you have mastered the devil fruit ability transplantation technology, so can this technology be used on paramecia fruit? Upon hearing this, Caesar Current raised his eyebrows. Chapter 97 Devil Fruit Ability Transplantation and Rebirth. After a while, Yang Hao, Caesar Current, and Baby-5 came to a room filled with precision instruments. This is a research room dedicated to the transplantation of devil fruit abilities. Yang Hao's question just now was answered by Caesar Current. The answer is yes. Even paramecia fruit abilities can be transplanted with devil fruit abilities. In fact, even Logia is possible, it's just that the probability of failure is very high. This probability of failure is actually an inevitable phenomenon of devil fruit ability transplantation technology. After all, this is transplanting the devil fruit ability to a dead object. Therefore, even with animal-type devil fruit abilities, there is a chance of failure. Of course, Logia is the highest, followed by paramecia, and finally the animal system. Hearing this answer, Yang Hao was surprised, but not surprised. Surprisingly, in the world of pirates, there are no creations with abilities other than animal fruits. I didn't expect that this technology could really be used for other series of devil fruit abilities. Not surprisingly, Logia has the highest failure rate. Because even Vegapunk, who appeared in later generations, only used green blood to reproduce paramecia's abilities. Logia ability is still untouchable. When it comes to devil fruit ability transplantation, Logia has the highest probability of failure, which is not surprising. After understanding this, Yang Hao thought about it and decided to let Caesar Current directly start transferring the castle fruit ability. Although there are many chances of failure, Yang Hao still wants to give it a try. After all, if it fails, he will not have much impact. But if he succeeds, he will have one more life-saving trump card. And you don't have to worry about storage later in the future, it's done once and for all. Overall, it's worth a try. As a result, Caesar Current brought Yang Hao directly to this research room. At this moment, Caesar Current took the castle fruit and walked towards the instrument placed in the center. There was something like a petri dish. After Caesar Current's explanation, Yang Hao actually already had some understanding of this devil fruit ability transplantation technology. The petri dish is actually made of seafloor stone. Devil fruit ability transplantation technology is actually not complicated. It is nothing more than using a container made of seafloor stone to wrap the devil fruit, and after it melts, the devil soul inside will emerge. According to the general rules, after the demon soul emerges, it will be randomly reborn on the fruit. But because the seafloor stone container is wrapped, the soul cannot leave. At this time, put the props into the container and then oppress the demon soul. When oppressed, the devil's soul will burst out with an instinctive desire to survive, and finally have to possess the props. Logia and paramecia have a high probability of failure because of this. This is all because the souls of animal-type devil fruits are more agile than Logia and paramecia devil fruits, and are born with a certain degree of consciousness. Therefore, transplanting animal devil fruits will have a higher success rate than the other two series. By the way, speaking of this, Yang Hao also took the opportunity to ask Caesar Current about the rebirth of devil fruit abilities. In the original work, after Ace died, the Shishao fruit was obtained by Doflamingo. Therefore, Yang Hao speculated whether Doflamingo had mastered the technology to accurately recover devil fruit after the death of a person with abilities. Otherwise, this guy also participated in the war on top, Ace died there, and he just happened to get the Shao fruit. Isn't it a coincidence? But Caesar Current denied this. Yang Hao did not think that the other party was deceiving him. After all, if Caesar Current could be recycled, he would have been prepared when the slime self-destructed in the original book, instead of having it randomly reborn in a pile of apples and then be drowned by venom. As for why Doflamingo got the Shashua fruit, maybe he got it by chance. After all, with Doflamingo's power, getting some devil fruits, even powerful devil fruits, is nothing. In fact, this guy also got the golden fruit, but it was snatched away during the auction. Appeared again, but appeared on Tetsolo. Speaking of which, Yang Hao was a little confused as to why Doflamingo would put it up for auction. But then he thought about it and it dawned on him. Obviously, Doflamingo people can't help themselves when they are in the arena. Perhaps Doflamingo was weak at that time and could not protect the golden fruit, so he had no choice but to put it up for auction. This is the crime of cherishing a treasure. In fact, Yang Hao may also encounter such a situation now. If others knew that he had a top-notch fruit like the peach dragon fruit, the consequences could be imagined. Going back to the topic just now, Caesar Current does not have the technology to accurately recover devil fruit abilities. It's right when you think about it. Even the world government, which owns Vegapunk, does not have this kind of technology. Otherwise, there would be no need to imprison so many powerful ability users in Impel Down City. They can completely kill it and take away its abilities. The reason why he was not imprisoned but not killed was most likely because he was worried that those powerful devil fruit abilities would spread randomly and cause huge commotion again. For example, World Destroyer, Burndy-Wald, who has the power of Momo fruit. Now that he has made a decision, Yang Hao will naturally not hesitate. As for Caesar Current, of course he would not refuse. After all, transplanting the paramecia fruit ability was a good experience for him. That's all. The castle fruit was placed in a petri dish. Yang Hao and Baby -5 silently watched Caesar Current operate. As the instrument started, the castle fruit in the petri dish gradually began to melt and disappear. Baby -5 didn't notice anything, but Yang Hao's expression changed. He subconsciously activated the hockey of seeing and hearing, and suddenly felt that a unique breath of life emerged from the petri dish. The reason why it is unique is that he has never felt a similar aura before. But to the naked eye, there is nothing strange, let alone anything. Put the stuff in. Next, after Caesar Current tested it, he said to Yang Hao. Yang Hao nodded, then took out a gold earring that he had prepared long ago and put it in. Yes, the prop Yang Hao prepared was a gold earring. Originally, I prepared a ring. If I use a ring, it will be more convenient to hold things by wearing it on my hand. But later, considering the combat issues, his hands often need to be used and collided. Accidentally, the ring might be broken, so Yang Hao replaced it with earrings. Wearing it on the ears is quite safe. Okay, whether it's successful or not depends on the next half hour. Caesar Current did it again, and then he breathed a sigh of relief and said. Yang Hao nodded and began to look forward to it. Time passed little by little. Finally, the set time arrived. Caesar Current opened the petri dish, took out the earring, and handed it to Yang Hao. Yang Hao's eyes flashed. Was it successful? Chapter 98 Castle Earrings. Success? Baby -5 looked at the gold earrings in Yang Hao's hand and asked in surprise. Hearing this, Yang Hao also looked at Caesar Current. Caesar Current shrugged. The soul fluctuation of the devil fruit has indeed disappeared, but I don't know whether it was successful or not. Yang Hao, try it yourself. Yang Hao nodded. He also learned in advance how to use this devil fruit power creation from Caesar Cullen. The first thing is to communicate, but the series is different and the method is different. For example, if you create a creature with the ability of an animal-type devil fruit, just talk to it directly. The creation of paramecia requires the domineering spirit of seeing and hearing. Yang Hao didn't expect that the power of knowledge and color would come in handy here. He didn't say anything, and immediately activated his knowledge and power, and began to try to communicate with the golden earrings in his hand. Soon. Yang Hao raised his eyebrows. His domineering aura covered him, and he really felt the unique breath of life just now. Realizing this, Yang Hao was refreshed. Such a scene undoubtedly illustrates the transfer of the castle fruit's ability. Success. Yang Hao saw and heard that the color was domineering and disappeared into the earrings. Then he was delighted to find that this communication was not complicated. In the blink of an eye, he felt as if he had mastered the power of the castle fruit. Following this feeling, Yang Hao immediately chanted silently. Open. At this moment, a magical scene appeared. The space in the middle of the golden earring suddenly fluctuated, and a scene inside the castle was revealed. It really worked. Yang Hao smiled, and another thought came up. Something even more magical happened. I saw that his figure quickly became smaller, and finally disappeared directly into the golden earring. Snap! The gold earring fell down. Yang Hao. Seeing Yang Hao perform a great transformation into a living person, Baby -5 suddenly opened his beautiful eyes with a look of disbelief on his face. Caesar Current was also shocked and opened his mouth wide, but he soon smiled. It seems to have been successful, but what kind of ability is this? At this moment, a voice came. This is the castle fruit ability. Brother Caesar, Baby 5, do you want to come in and take a look? The direction the sound came from was the gold earring that fell on the ground. Baby -5 squatted down directly, even more surprised. Caesar Current smiled directly and said, okay, let us go in and take a look. Okay, you guys come closer and move closer to the earrings. Yang Hao's voice continued to come out. Baby -5 subconsciously moved closer, but her figure quickly shrank, and then disappeared into the gold earrings. Next, there is Caesar Current. After a while, the three of them all left the research room and entered a castle. Where is this? Baby -5 looked at the unfamiliar and spacious environment around him, and was extremely surprised. Caesar Current was also a little surprised. Although he knew a lot about devil fruits, he was not comprehensive. This castle fruit ability can actually create a castle. But looking at the wide area around him, he somewhat understood why Yang Hao wanted to transplant this ability into props. Isn't this just a portable mobile space? Thinking this way, Caesar Current's eyes couldn't help but light up. Brother Yang Hao, this ability creation you made is very good. After realizing this, Caesar Current was somewhat attracted to Yang Hao's golden earrings. You know, as a scientist, he simply doesn't need too many scientific devices. Sometimes moving once is not a hassle. Even if you don't move, sometimes accidents occur while doing research, which can cause damage to many devices. Although most devices can be repurchased, there are some that are difficult to repurchase. Besides, even if you can buy it again, it will be a waste of time, right? All in all, this earring with the universe inside it is obviously of great use to him. Yes, after having it, I won't have to go hungry in the future. Brother Caesar, you don't know how good I can eat. Many times, if I don't carry a lot of food with me, I will even become weak from hunger. This time I came from Dressrosa, which means it's not a long journey, otherwise, I would have fainted from hunger on the way. With this castle earring, I can replenish food anytime and anywhere in the future, which is great. And no matter where I go from now on, I can take baby -5 with me. Yang Hao saw Caesar Current's expression and said quickly. Of course he knew that Caesar Current also needed this thing. In fact, no one will dislike these castle earrings. After all, it is so convenient to have such a space prop. Not to mention people like Yang Hao and Caesar Current, even baby -5 showed great interest at this time. So Yang Hao reacted and quickly explained. Even though Caesar Current would ask for it, he would refuse, but that might affect their relationship. To avoid such a thing from happening, Yang Hao naturally spoke first and blocked Caesar Current's request. The reasons he gave are also very sufficient. This castle fruit not only helps him store a lot of food, but also allows him to carry baby -5 with him anytime and anywhere. And since Yang Hao had already mentioned this, Caesar Current naturally couldn't bring up the idea of asking for it again. Otherwise, it will be suspected of forcing others to make things difficult and beating the Mandarin ducks. Next, Caesar Current honestly visited the castle, and at the same time began to record Yang Hao's experience. After all, the success of the castle earrings is also a rare scientific research experience for devil fruit ability transplantation technology for Caesar Current. For this kind of thing, Yang Hao naturally cooperates unconditionally. Then he discovered that Caesar Current was very professional as a scientist. Caesar Current first tested whether Yang Hao could completely control the castle earring, and then whether it would consume physical strength when using various castle abilities. It is worth mentioning here that Paramecia ability creations and animal ability creations seem to be somewhat different. According to the law of conservation of energy, even if you are a creature created with devil fruit power, there is a cost when you use its power. However, creatures with animal abilities can replenish their physical strength and energy by eating. But the creations created by Paramecia's ability obviously cannot eat, so when using the ability, what is consumed is the host's physical strength. To be honest, Yang Hao wouldn't have noticed this unless Caesar Current said it. His body is really too strong. Although the castle fruit consumes a lot of energy, it doesn't feel much to him. But now that we know it, we can't take it seriously. Otherwise, if you waste your energy on the castle earrings rashly, it will be fine in normal times, but if you face a strong enemy, it may lead to accidents. Of course, Yang Hao didn't plan to use this castle earring to develop any abilities. If he had such leisurely time, he might as well ponder his own fruits. So just use its space storage capabilities. The physical exertion caused by just going in and out is minimal. In terms of control, Yang Hao at this time indeed had complete control over the castle earrings. Because after he established contact with the castle earrings using his knowledge, he was surprised to find that he seemed to have opened his eyes of God, and could clearly see any corner of the entire castle. This feeling is great. Of course, what makes Yang Hao most satisfied is the great convenience brought by castle earrings. From then on, he no longer had to worry about logistical issues, and he even had an extra trump card for simulated battles. Chapter 99 improved Blue Wave Ball and added human body enlargement. Doflamingo is very efficient. In less than 2 days, 200 million research funds were in place. Just after receiving the funds, Caesar Current was a little worried. He could feel that if he applied the knowledge of Blue Wave Ball to human body enlargement experiments and artificial devil fruits, he should be able to make some progress. But now, Doflamingo means to continue to improve the Blue Wave Ball. Research is no joke. If 200 million yuan is spent on improving the Blue Wave Ball, there will most likely be no money left to invest in experiments on human enlargement and artificial devil fruits. This also caused Caesar Current to hesitate after getting the money, not knowing what to do. This problem was not solved until Yang Hao took the initiative to come to the door. Brother Caesar, why don't you think so? You give me 100 million Baileys, and I will steady the blue ball, while you continue to conduct human body enlargement experiments and research on artificial devil fruits. Is this possible? After hearing Yang Hao's suggestion, Caesar Current was a little moved. I have to say that Yang Hao's suggestion is quite good. In this way, both can be taken into account. But the problem is that Caesar Current is worried that Yang Hao has spent 100 million and has not succeeded in improving the blue wave ball. In that case, there is no way to explain it to Doflamingo. Don't worry, Brother Caesar. In fact, I already have an idea, but if I encounter any problems later, you have to help me solve it. 100 million belly is definitely enough. Hearing what Yang Hao said, Caesar Current hesitated and agreed. In his opinion, he can keep the 100 million Bailey first and see how Yang Hao's research progresses. If it doesn't work, you can invest again. So, soon, Yang Hao left with 100 million Baileys. This situation was quickly learned by Monet, who was the secretary. She immediately informed Doflamingo. On the other side of the phone, Doflamingo was silent for a moment. Kaido. Let's take a look first and then talk. In fact, Doflamingo did not pay much attention to the situation where Caesar Current distributed research funds to Yang Hao. All because what he wants is the improvement of the blue wave ball. As long as he can successfully improve the blue wave ball, he won't mind how the research funds are spent. But before, he had already given Yang Hao a sum of 300 million in funds, but Yang Hao has yet to say anything. This time, if Yang Hao spends another 100 million and there is no progress, then he will talk to Yang Hao. Yang Hao knew nothing about Monet's snitching. Of course, even if he knew, he wouldn't care. Because he knows that this improved blue wave ball will definitely be effective. After all, in the original work, Caesar Current simply observed Chopper for a while and easily improved the Rambo ball. It's just that Yang Hao doesn't know whether that kind of blue wave ball meets Doflamingo's expectations. But one thing Yang Hao can be sure of is that he will definitely become stronger as a result. That's enough. That's all. After returning to his room with 100 million Baileys, Yang Hao directly entered the mind-enhanced form. He began to think about a new simulation plan. This time the simulation must be studied together with Caesar Current. All because Yang Hao was not sure that one person could successfully reform. If he could really do this, he would have done it at West Blue and there would be no need to wait until now. But this time, in addition to improving the blue wave ball, Yang Hao felt that he could also incorporate Caesar Current's research. It's not an artificial devil fruit, it's an experiment to enlarge the human body. There is no doubt that Caesar Current's current human body enlargement experiment is unsuccessful. Even if it is 2 or 3 years later, it will be the same. Those children did become gigantic to varying degrees after taking the giant medicine created by Caesar Current. But this kind of hugeness is very unstable. Those children indeed possess powerful powers similar to those of giants. But it is easy to be driven by anger and difficult to control. Even most of the children died suddenly because they could not bear the power of the medicine. After learning about it, Yang Hao became very interested. In his opinion, Caesar Current's giant medicine might be used on himself. That's right, Yang Hao is planning to take the giant medicine himself. There is no doubt that Caesar Current's giant medicine is flawed. If you take it rashly, even if Yang Hao is strong, you may still have problems. But don't forget, Yang Hao's simulation can harvest benign changes and eliminate malignant changes. In this way, he is naturally not afraid of the sequelae of the giant medicine. You can boldly absorb the favorable factors, so, can he use this to gain the power of a giant? Yang Hao thought about it and thought it was very interesting. And it doesn't matter even if it doesn't succeed for the time being. His physique is so strong. If he is used as the experimental subject, the data and reactions obtained will definitely be of great help to Caesar Current's human body enlargement experiment. By then, Caesar Current may be able to develop a stronger and more reliable giant medicine. All in all, no matter how he thought about it, Yang Hao seemed to be able to give it a try. Ever since, Yang Hao's simulation goal was quickly determined. Improve the blue wave ball and join the human body enlargement experiment. As for time, of course it's until all the money is spent. Thinking of this, Yang Hao thought. The gold earring on the left ear suddenly revealed an internal hole. A large number of Baileys swept out from inside. Seeing this magical scene, Yang Hao couldn't help but sigh. It's so convenient. Then he officially started the simulation. On the first day, you began to study the improved blue wave ball and found Caesar Current again, explaining that you wanted to become the object of the opponent's giant experiment. Close black lens bracket. Caesar Current was shocked, and instead told you about the risks of this experiment, but with your insistence, Caesar Current had to agree, and you obtained the giant medicine. Close black lens bracket. You take the candy like giant medicine without hesitation. Close black lens bracket. The next day, there was no reaction from the giant medicine, probably because the medicine had not yet taken effect. You continued to improve the blue wave ball, but soon encountered the same problems as before. The current medical knowledge could no longer support you to continue to improve. You did not unexpectedly, Caesar Current was found immediately. Close black lens bracket. With the help of Caesar Current, you quickly broke through a small difficulty. You were not satisfied and began to consciously learn scientific knowledge from Caesar Current. Close black lens bracket. The first month, the second month, research continued to study. Half a year later, a successfully improved blue ball was born. If you eat this blue ball, you will immediately turn into a 15-meter giant ape monster, lose consciousness, and destroy wildly. Close black lens bracket. Caesar Current, Baby -5 and Monet were all shocked. Fortunately, you had already told us. Caesar Current immediately injected you with anesthetic and you returned to normal. Close black lens bracket. You look happy when you return to normal. You know that the effectiveness of the blue wave ball has become stronger, because in the past, eating 3 blue wave balls would enter the monster's enhanced form. But now we only need 1. You can imagine what this means. Close black lens bracket. The blue wave ball has undoubtedly been improved successfully, but at the same time, there is a problem with the giant medicine. Close black lens bracket. Chapter 100. The Power of Giants. Natural divine power? There is a problem with the giant medicine. As you can imagine, the current giant medicine has flaws and even has serious sequelae. Close black lens bracket. From this day on, your body starts to grow bigger, from 1.8 meters to 2 meters, and then from 2 meters to 3 meters. Close black lens bracket. The blue wave improvement was successful, but the effect obviously did not agree with Doflamingo. Close black lens bracket. After all, what Doflamingo relies on is not the enhanced form of monsters, but more stable forms. Therefore, the power of the blue wave ball became stronger, which only benefited Yang Hao, but made Doflamingo a little unhappy. Close black lens bracket. This situation also resulted in Doflamingo not continuing to provide research funds for the time being, and you didn't care. Instead, you and Caesar Current conducted human enlargement experiments. Close black lens bracket. Your size is getting bigger day by day, and as your size grows, you begin to show signs of bad temper, and there seems to be a fire accumulating and burning in your body. Close black lens bracket. For this reason, the first letter of baby -5 suffered an old sin. Close black lens bracket. Wait until later, baby -5 can't stand you anymore, because your size has gradually grown to more than 6 meters. Close black lens bracket. At this time, you must rely on the sedatives provided by Caesar Coolant to calm down. Close black lens bracket. As time went by, your temper became more and more irritable, and finally one day, after taking the giant drug, you completely went berserk. Close black lens bracket. You made a big fuss in the research room and even injured BABY5. Unfortunately, Monet and Caesar Current had no choice but to take action and try to subdue you. Close black lens bracket. After a great battle, you were poisoned and fell into the heavy snow. Close black lens bracket. The simulation ends. Obtain benign changes. 1 improved formula of blue wave ball, 2 some muscle strength, 3 parts of giant power. Eliminate malignant changes. 1 gene toxin, 2 frostbite, 3 poisoning. Close black lens bracket. After the simulation ended, a large amount of information emerged in Yang Hao's mind. At the same time, a strong warm current also flowed through his body. Yang Hao's eyes quickly lit up. A stronger version of blue wave ball is finally here. This blue wave ball should be the blue wave ball used by Chopper 2 years after the original work. Chopper also only needed to eat one of the Rambo balls of that period to turn into a giant monster. All of a sudden, Yang Hao simulated it. Of course, this version of blue wave ball is actually not complicated. It's nothing more than increasing the potency and using a more scientific preparation method. After Yang Hao mastered certain scientific knowledge, he was able to research this point relatively smoothly. But as he said, such a blue wave ball is actually of no use to Doflamingo. Because of the medicinal power of the blue wave ball, ordinary people with animal fruit abilities really can't bear too much. And this is also the reason why Yang Hao had to wait 6 hours before taking the first blue ball before taking it again. The purpose is to wait for the power of the medicine to dissipate, otherwise it may cause chaos in the body and lead to abnormal abilities. Naturally, the last thing he lost control of his ability was that he ate 3 blue wave balls in a short period of time, so he lost control of his ability and turned into a monster. In view of this situation, it is really not a good thing for Doflamingo, who wants to steadily master the blue wave ball. After all, the monster strengthens this form and can also be used in war. But at this stage, Doflamingo definitely wants to hide the blue ball. In other words, he will not make the blue wave ball public in the short term, but will use it to arm his subordinates and even cadres. He will not make any announcements until he has achieved certain results. In this way, the stability and sustainability of the blue wave ball's medicinal power are very important. Of course, it is just as said in the simulation. Yang Hao didn't care about this. This version of Lan Bochu is enough to strengthen him. As for Doflamingo, he had never considered it, especially now, as his strength continues to increase, he no longer needs to be too afraid of Doflamingo. Thinking of this, Yang Hao's attention returned to the human body enlargement experiment. There is no doubt that this time he participated in the human body enlargement experiment and personally served as a guinea pig for Caesar Current, which was a failure. He didn't turn into a real giant, and he went crazy before he could even reach the size of a giant. Yang Hao went crazy, which was no joke. Before completely losing consciousness, one can imagine his destructive power. So, in the end, facing him like this, Caesar Current and others had no choice but to kill him. With the strength of Caesar Current and Monet, it is not too difficult to defeat the unconscious Yang Hao. However, the human body enlargement experiment, which originally seemed to Yang Hao to be fruitless, seemed to have brought positive changes to him. Thinking of this, Yang Hao felt it silently, and soon opened his eyes with bright eyes. He clenched his fists and suddenly felt that he had become much stronger. There is a strong feeling that one punch can blow up a dinosaur. But this is not the reason why the body becomes stronger and the muscle strength increases, but it is the effect of the power of a giant. Titan power. Yang Hao understood instantly. This so-called giant's power refers to the power and strength of giants. From this point of view, Caesar Current really has something. The giant medicine he created can really allow people to gain the strength and even the size of a giant. But the body shape formed in this way is obviously deformed. The sudden increase in body size and lack of control caused the host to lose control of his emotions and enter a violent state from time to time. Fortunately, Yang Hao has a simulation system that can filter out such negative factors that are malignant changes and only retain the beneficial factors. Thinking of this, Yang Hao's eyes became bright again. It is worth mentioning that although physical fitness also increases strength, it is not as much as imagined. This can be seen from real-life examples. Fitness coaches do have a lot of strength, but they are definitely not as good as athletes who specialize in weightlifting. But now, Yang Hao suddenly discovered that he could greatly increase his strength through this giant medicine. Perhaps, soon, he will be able to compete with that kind of innate divine power. For example, Whitebeard, one of the 4 emperors. Speaking of Whitebeard's strength, his famous scene should be when he fights on top, blocking a huge ship with one hand. The weight of the entire ship and its inherent impact were easily blocked by him with just one hand. Its power is simply astonishing. It is no exaggeration to say that it can conquer mountains and rivers. However, Whitebeard's size is not that big. It can be seen from this that he is definitely a being with natural divine power. Thinking that he might also gain such strength, Yang Hao couldn't help but get excited. But now Yang Hao looked back and found that the effect of this giant medicine was still a bit slow and weak. It took him almost a year to gain some of his giant strength. However, what Yang Hao wants is the true power of a giant, even a power stronger than a giant. Therefore, next, he might be able to ask Caesar Current to make some improvements to the giant medicine. For example, you don't need to worry about the side effects and continue to improve the potency of the medicine. Thinking of this, a smile appeared on Yang Hao's lips.